At least you understand something. However, I hope that you can do what you have said, or else you will know what the consequences are. Obediently guard here. Wait for the time when your master needs you, then just do your duty. The black tortoise armor technique coldly looked at the evil spirit. Then a large amount of fog surged out of its body, engulfed Chu Feng, and then the two of them disappeared. Only the evil spirit was left as it stared at where the black tortoise armor technique stood before with a panicked expression. After a while, it slowly closed its eyes. At that instant, its thoughts floated towards its distant memories. Time had passed for too long, and it did not remember how many years or months the thing happened for. It only remembered that under the command of several evil world spiritists, the army made out of evil spirits caused chaos in a certain land and plundered resources everywhere. Mountain ranges were stamped flat, rivers were evaporated dry, flames of battle were everywhere. Their army had always done what they wished to, and there was no one who could have stopped them. Not an inch of grass grew from the places that they had passed by. All life that they saw were slaughtered. However, they, who caused people to be fearful just by hearing their name, who caused the color of people's faces to change when mentioned, who almost completely destroyed an extremely powerful continent, was defeated by a male. Because the distance was too far, it did not see the appearance of the male clearly. It only remembered that with a single strike, he completely crushed their army. With a glance, it killed the evil world spiritists who commanded them. That male was so strong that it was indescribable. In the created world, he no longer seemed like a person. He seemed more like a god. Also, beside the male, there were also 4 ruthless and strong monsters. The black tortoise armor technique was one of them, who tilde suddenly. Then evil spirit sighed and gave up the thought of recovering its own freedom. It obediently returned deep into the ancient castle, because it did not dare to not follow the orders of the black tortoise armor technique. At the same time, Chu Feng only felt that his body was floating in mid-air, seeming to be quickly shifting. When both of his feet landed on the ground, and as the fog dissipated, he astonishedly discovered that he returned to the area where the illusion formation was earlier, and the black tortoise armor technique was also currently staring at him. The journey that required 4 hours for him was finished by the black tortoise armor technique in an instant. Senior Yu. At that instant, Chu Feng had a stomach full of questions, yet he did not know where to start asking. You must be very curious as for why I let you release the evil spirit, right? The black tortoise armor technique smiled and said, Chu Feng fiercely nodded his head. Oh, that's just a small question. Compared to that, I'm guessing that you must be more curious what treasures are hidden in this place. Senior, is it possible that you know what is hidden here? Seeing that, Chu Feng hurriedly and closely asked. Haha, of course. Everything here was left behind by my former master. Everything here was personally created and laid by him. But sadly, I will not tell you because we promised him to not tell anyone about the secrets buried here. The black tortoise armor technique smirked and said. That caused Chu Feng to be extremely speechless, and he felt some insulting urges. He thought in his heart, if you're not going to tell me, why did you still ask whether I want to know it or not? Isn't that the same as playing around with someone? Seeming to see Chu Feng's helplessness, the black tortoise armor technique smiled and added, however, I can tell you that the treasure hidden here is an extremely strong treasure. It is a treasure that can cause a person to go mad. It can cause disputes in a family. It can cause lovers to kill one another. It can cause rains of blood and winds of stench, and it can even devastate this land here. As for you, the current, you don't have the qualifications to go even near the treasure. So even if I tell you what it is, it would be useless. But you're very lucky. Lucky that you met me because more or less I will help you out. For example, the evil spirit just now. Although it is only a watchdog that is located in the outermost circle, if it can be used by you in the future, when you step into this place again, it will at least help you a bit. But sadly, after leaving my master's body, my strength has already decreased greatly. Right now, I exist only in name. I can scare some little minion like the one just now, but the guardians deeper in will not listen to my command. So, if you want to get the deepest treasure, you will still need to rely on yourself." After hearing the Black Tortoise Armor Technique's words, Chu Feng was shocked in his heart. If such a powerful Black Tortoise Armor Technique could not even command the Guardians, how powerful would they be? If the evil spirit, who was able to pressure him to the point of suffocation, and able to even cut off the connection between him and Eggy, was only a little minion, how terrifying would the existence of not a little minion be? At that instant, Chu Feng was completely stunned. He realized for the first time that he was so weak, even if he was a character who could shake the earth in the Azure province, and even if he was a monster in people's eyes. When facing a real powerful person, he was not even a single ant. At most, he was only an insignificant speck of dust. At that moment, Chu Feng was truly curious. Who was the master of this place? What realm did he step into in order to be so powerful? Was it truly the Martial Emperor realm that Eggy said it was? However, for he who did not even step into the profound realm, how much time did he need to enter the Martial Emperor realm, which was like a legend? At that instant, Chu Feng self-deprecatingly discovered that his talent, which he was so proud of, the godlike speed of improvement and breaking through the battle power that surpassed levels, really wasn't much. Because if he only relied on those, perhaps in his entire life, he would not be able to touch the Martial Emperor realm. He was a monster in other people's eyes, but if he was looked at by real geniuses, he was only a mediocre person. For example, the purple-clothed female who was even younger than him. The world was so big, and the continent of the 9 provinces was merely a corner of an iceberg. It was quite difficult for Chu Feng to imagine how many geniuses were growing in the boundless and borderless world. And as for him, he did not truly step onto the wide stage. So, he had to become stronger. He had to become stronger and stronger. Although whether you gain the treasure in this place will still depend on yourself, I will still do what I can to help you. Right now, the biggest help that I can give you is to pass my ability down to you." The Black Tortoise Armor Technique's expression suddenly turned serious. Following that, its body had started to become illusionary, like how the White Tiger Slaughtering Technique looked like as he became a body of fog-like illusion in the White Tiger Mountain Range. It actually and truly wanted to be attached to Chu Feng's body in order to hand its power over for Chu Feng to use. "But Senior, you are not related to me in any way, so why are you helping me like this?" That was the biggest question mark in Chu Feng's heart. "I have my reasons for helping you, like why the White Tiger chose you. Our reason is the same, and as for what this reason is in the future, you will naturally unveil it." Suddenly, the illusionary Black Tortoise Armor Technique pounced towards Chu Feng, and it was entering Chu Feng's body. At the same time, a large amount of information was also starting to gather in Chu Feng's brain. Along with bursts of pricking pain, the cloud-like gas was rolling and surging around, and like waves, it drilled into Chu Feng's body. Large amounts of information also started to appear in Chu Feng's brain. That let Chu Feng understand the impressiveness of the Black Tortoise Armor Technique. If it was said that the White Tiger Slaughtering Technique was the strongest attacking method, the Black Tortoise Armor Technique would be the strongest defense method. Its defense method was not only indestructible armor. If Chu Feng could completely grasp it, he could even create mist that would be able to meddle around with one's mind, and from that, cause his opponent to die. Even if he could not kill the opponent, he could still disturb them in battle and greatly reduce their battle power. That was the wonderful area of the Black Tortoise Armor Technique. At the same time, the deep and ancient voice of the Black Tortoise Armor Technique also kept on sounding out next to Chu Feng's ear. "Chu Feng, listen up. Normal people cannot get the treasure in this place, so no need to be afraid of spreading the secret here, because the people who can get the treasure are less within less. The guardians here and the obstructions here can separate people away from the treasure. Thus, do not aim for some quick achievements or short benefits. Before having a certain strength, Don't rashly enter this place. If you want to know why the white tiger and I chose you, go find our 2 other old friends and make them be willing to serve you. At that time, the secret about us will naturally be revealed. I hope that we have not chosen the wrong person." The voice of the black tortoise armor technique became quieter and quieter. At the end, along with the disappearance of its voice, the fog lingering in front of Chu Feng's body also disappeared. Also, he left a mystery that Chu Feng had to unravel himself. So it turns out that there is some special reason why the white tiger slaughtering technique and the black tortoise armor technique chose me, huh? Their 2 old friends should be the 2 other secret skills, right? So indeed, there's a secret skill at every single entrance. Chu Feng stood where he was, and his thoughts were unstable. What other reason can there be? Clearly, they saw your potential, or else the white tiger slaughtering technique and the secret skill hidden in the Azure Dragon mountain range wouldn't have chosen you rather than another master. If it is insisting that it's a secret, it is very possible that some unimaginable thing would happen when the 4 of them gathers in one body, right? Just at that time, Eggy's sweet and beautiful voice suddenly rang out. "Eggy, nothing happened to you. This is great." At that instant, Chu Feng was greatly happy because he discovered that the originally cut-off connection between him and Eggy was restored, and he could feel Eggy's existence once again. "What can even happen to me?" The connection was only temporarily cut because of the evil spirit from the ghost spirit world. However, it has to be said that the evil spirit does have some ability. I'm afraid that normal people in the heaven realm would not be able to defeat it, Eggy said while curling her mouth. So that evil spirit came from the ghost spirit world. No wonder it looked like a ghost and was so terrifying. Chu Feng had an expression of enlightenment. "Don't stare blankly and leave. You can no longer probe around this place. You must at least reach the heaven realm or don't come back to this place," Eggy reminded. In short, he already knew that the Emperor Tomb was deep and unfathomable. At least, he was quite some time away from being able to search it. Not only him, even the Jiang dynasty might not have that qualification. But after Chu Feng walked out for a short distance, he astonishedly discovered that a city appeared behind him. Focusing his eyes to look, it was the illusion formation that Chu Feng and the others stepped into earlier. Chu Feng was a bit shocked. Although he already experienced the trial of the illusion formation, when he saw the formation currently, chills still went down his spine because the formation was truly too horrifying. The illusion formation was originally invisible, so go with the illusion formation. I believe that many people will not be able to pass through. Even if they can pass through here, they can't pass through the checkpoint later on. In this continent, there is truly no one who can go near that treasure, Eggy said with contempt. Chu Feng also felt that Eggy spoke quite reasonably, because the illusion formation was only the outermost circle. The evil spirit that was described as a little minion by the black tortoise armor technique was already so strong, so he truly did not dare to imagine what the existence the guardian deeper in would be. Perhaps it was a monster that could completely destroy everything in this continent, right? However, as long as he thought of a monster that could destroy the continent of the 9 provinces, Chu Feng couldn't help but think that there also seemed to be a monster that was sealed in his spiritual world. And from Eggy's description, that monster was an existence that could cause chaos on the continent of the 9 provinces. Also, Eggy said that the sealed monster wasn't much in her eyes. From her tone, Chu Feng could feel that she didn't seem to be falsely boasting. She seemed to truly have had strength that allowed her to look down upon everything. However, such a powerful Eggy and the monster who could devastate the continent of the 9 provinces were sealed in his spiritual world. That made Chu Feng imagine how strong the person who did all that was. Was it his parents, or his relatives, or who? "Father, mother, are you two still in this world?" That question echoed in Chu Feng's heart. How much did he hope that his own parents were still in the world? It was the truth that he wanted to know the most. Since he had already explored, when he was returning, Chu Feng could hurry back without a single trace of fear. His speed greatly increased, and only after a few days he arrived back at the entrance. However, on the road back, Chu Feng discovered quite a few corpses from the people of the Qilin Prince's mansion, who miserably died by the mechanisms in the cave world. It could be seen that, after he successfully opened the entrance, the Qilin Prince's mansion also sent quite a few experts over to search in this place. But sadly, no matter how much stronger their cultivation was, they who did not know spirit formation techniques were unable to dodge even the most simplest mechanisms. But the thing that Chu Feng did not understand the most was that, after the news spread out, the ruler of the Qilin Prince's mansion, the lord of the mansion, had not showed himself. Normally, after opening the entrance to a treasure trove that very possibly hid endless treasures, even if it was that mansion lord, he would be incomparably moved, and he should have immediately came to personally handle this matter. So, as he had not appeared yet, it obviously did not make sense. But Chu Feng was too lazy to think about those things. As the guards were caught off guard, he hiddenly left that place. Chu Feng already prepared to leave the Azure province, so before he departed, he wanted to say his farewells to some people. And the first people he wanted to say his farewells to would be his relatives. After a short period of hurrying, Chu Feng finally returned to the city that Chu Guyu and the others were hiddenly living in. When he was entering the city, Chu Feng was still thinking. After taking out the rank 6 martial skills that Li Jiangxing gave him, he wondered how happy Chu Guyu and the others would be, and perhaps they would even have trouble falling asleep. Chu Feng, you finally appeared. We were so worried about you. However, just as Chu Feng entered the residence, Chu Iwei ran out with a full face of panic. She hugged Chu Feng, and he could even feel that her body was trembling with some weeping noises coming from her mouth. Simultaneously, all the other Chu family members behind Chu Iwei were both joyed and worried, and with lingering fear all over their faces, they looked at Chu Feng as if he came back from the gates of hell. Chu Iwei, what are all of you doing? I'm perfectly fine and nothing has happened to me. Chu Feng really didn't know what to do because of Chu Iwei and the others, and at the same time he also felt indescribable uneasiness. Chu Feng, don't worry. We will forever be by your side. Chu Feng, you are forever part of our Chu family. We won't leave you. Yeah, Chu Feng. No matter when, you still have us, your family. No matter what you do, we will support you and never leave you. Just at that time, Chu Wei, Chu Cheng, Chu Zhen and the others came out of the residence. Even Chu Guyu came out, and everyone was very emotional when they saw Chu Feng. At that instant, Chu Feng was finally aware that something was wrong. He felt that something must have happened, so he asked, in these past few days has something that I don't know about happened? Brother, do you really still not know? Chu Guyu thought of a possibility when he saw Chu Feng's blank face. Since the end of the 100 school gathering, I had always been cultivating in a hidden place. After coming out, I directly came here to find all of you. I don't know what has happened in the past few days. Chu Feng explained. Brother, follow me. Seeing that, Chu Guyu first cautiously scanned his surroundings, then prepared to walk deeper into the residence. But just at that time, Chu Feng waved his big sleeve, and a boundless soundproof spirit formation appeared. It shrouded the area that they were in. Then he said, Brother, just speak here. Chu Feng's expression changed into extreme uneasiness. He also really wanted to know what had actually happened. Brother, the things that happened in the 100 school gathering were real, right? You killed the #1 disciple of the Lingyun school, Dugu Oyun, and you even crippled the #2 disciple of the Lingyun school, Feng Hao. Chu Dujyu seriously asked. That's right. Is the Lingyun school looking for trouble? Chu Feng asked. Not only the Lingyun school, even the Qilin Prince's mansion is looking for you. Chu Guyu said. The Qilin Prince's mansion. After hearing those words, Chu Feng was greatly stunned. Although he also knew that the Lingyun school and the Qilin Prince's mansion had quite a good relationship. Within the Qilin Prince's mansion, he had Qi Fengyang overseeing everything. Qi Fengyang was currently a heaven realm expert. His position should be even higher in the Qilin Prince's mansion. and his authority of words should be more important than the Lingyun school. So, why did the present Qilin prince's mansion point the spearhead towards him? Brother, after the conclusion of the 100 school gathering, you haven't met Chu Feng again, and you haven't went to the Qilin prince's mansion with him, right? Chu Guyu continued asking. I haven't. Chu Feng shook his head. Ah, Chu Guyu first helplessly sighed, then followed up and said, right now, the rumors outside are saying that you've joined up with Chu Feng, and the both of you want to kill the lord of the Qilin prince's mansion in order to help Chu Feng scheme for power and to usurp the position. However, the head of the Lingyun school, Yan Yang Tian, arrived just in time, and only because of that the two of you couldn't get away with it. Right now, Chu Feng has been caught, and 10 days later he will be beheaded in public. As for you, you escaped in the chaos, and right now, the Qilin prince's mansion is going everywhere as they try to catch you. They even ordered everyone related to you to stand out and publicly announce to the world that they cut off their relationship with you. Only then could they feel shame for becoming friends with an evil person like you, or else. Or else what? Chu Feng closely asked. Or else after they behead Chu Feng in public, they will behead and exterminate the families of all the people who have close relationships with you or those who have not declared to the world that their relationship is cut off with you. There is something like this. At that instant, Chu Feng tightly frowned. He never would have thought that such a huge change would happen in the short dozen of days or so. Chu Feng was caught, and he was even going to be beheaded in the public. What was that for? He didn't go hiddenly assassinate the lord of the Qilin prince's mansion. And when Chu Feng talked about the mansion lord, Chu Feng could tell that he was extremely loyal, and it was impossible that he revolted. Within all of that, there must have been some hidden matters that were unknown. But as for what was actually happening at that instant, Chu Feng didn't have time to think about it. He only knew that Chu Feng, his brother who helped him many times, was going to be beheaded by the Qilin prince's mansion who he was loyal towards. Chu Feng, the Qilin prince's mansion, and the Lingyun school have clearly united. Not only do they want to take care of Chu Feng, they are also forcing you to appear. 10 days later, if you don't appear on your own, they will flip through the entire Azure province. If they can still not find you, they will kill everyone who is related to you. Right now, you must get the people around you, who are important, settled into an extremely safe location. Only after that can you be able to think how to save Chu Feng, or else not only will you die, even everyone next to you want live. Don't think that the Qilin prince's mansion and the Lingyun school will really forgive them even if they stand out to say that they have cut off their relationship with you. If they want to kill the people next to you, they have countless reasons and countless methods. That is because this place was their territory to start with, and no one would dare to defy anything they do. Eggy gravely reminded as she seemed to know what things Chu Feng was going to do. Eggy, where do you think is the safest place I should get them settled into right now? Chu Feng scanned over the current Chu family members standing around him because he really did not want them to be affected because of himself. Right now, the best place to go is the 1,000-bone graveyard. Not only is the Azure Dragon founder there to protect them, there is also the essence pool that can increase their cultivation. Eggy said, 1,000-bone graveyard. How is that possible? The founder clearly told me to keep the news of him surviving in his world a secret. So how would it be possible for him to allow me to bring people close to me into the 1,000-bone graveyard to live, and to even let him protect the safety of my family? Chu Feng felt that it was too insane. Something like that would not be possible to be achieved. Idiot. If it was before, perhaps it wouldn't be possible. But it is different right now. The Azure Dragon founder has a request for you, so he wouldn't refuse your own request. Besides, sending people close to you into the 1,000-bone graveyard is equivalent to increasing the cards he has in his hands. Increasing the cards he has in his hands. What do you mean by that? Chu Feng did not understand. Think about it. The Azure Dragon founder has requests for you, and he wants you to develop in order to revive him. But with his nature, he will absolutely not trust you completely. But if you send the people closest to you into the 1,000-bone graveyard, if he opposes you, he can use your family as a bargaining chip to coerce you. At least he can threaten you so that you must help him without playing any tricks. This is equal to handing your family over to the Azure Dragon founder for him to threaten you. Since the Azure Dragon founder is such a smart old guy, he should be able to clearly understand this debt. So, he will certainly agree. No matter how many people you stuff into the 1,000-bone graveyard, he will agree. Eggy said this. At that instant, Chu Feng hesitated a bit. Originally, he didn't feel much, and he was only worried whether the Azure Dragon founder would agree or not. But after hearing Eggy's analysis, he also felt if the Azure Dragon founder really wanted to use him, sending his family into the 1,000-bone graveyard was truly sending sheep into a tiger's mouth. Chu Feng, extreme times calls for extreme methods. You can only guarantee their temporary safety if you send your family away from the Azure province right now. However, you can only do this to guarantee their temporary safety. Can you guarantee that they will be truly safe when they leave the Azure province? With your temper, even if you leave the Azure province, it would be hard to avoid making huge enemies. Perhaps a greater enemy than the Qilin Prince's mansion and the Lingyun School. You can escape, but can they escape? So you must get your family settled in properly so you won't have any worries about troubles that come from the back. Although it is very possible that the Azure Dragon founder is using you, right now, you need to use him. He doesn't care about which methods he uses, so you don't care even more which methods you use. You need to understand clearly that before you can help him revive, he will absolutely not harm any of your relatives. During this period of time, your family will be absolutely safe. As for your talent, when you become a Purple Cloak World Spiritist, do you feel that you will be afraid of the Azure Dragon founder? At that time, if he truly wants you to help and if he has no malicious intentions towards you, then it's fine. But if he wants to use you and tear down the bridge after using you, you could also kill him instead. Eggy continued. At that instant, Chu Feng sank into deep thought. He felt that the words Eggy said made quite a bit of sense, but this related to the people close to him, so he still felt that it was too big of a risk. This time I'll listen to you. Finally, after a while of serious consideration, Chu Feng still felt that Eggy's method was fine. So on that day, Chu Feng escorted the Chu family members towards the Azure Dragon School, and because today was a special situation, even if Chu Feng was a disciple of the Azure Dragon School, he had to wear a conical hat to conceal his identity. Before even entering the Azure Dragon School, on the road as he climbed the mountain, Chu Feng saw large batches of disciples from the Azure Dragon School currently carrying bags on their backs while hurrying down the mountain. At the same time, he was able to hear their whispers. At first, I thought that the Azure Dragon School was going to rise greatly, and that I would have a great future by entering this school. Who would have known that just after entering I had to leave? Yeah, because of a single Chu Feng, we and others need to transfer to other schools. That Chu Feng really ought to die. It's that Li Jiangqing who's too stubborn. Clearly, as long as he stood out and announced that the Azure Dragon School was clear of any relationships with Chu Feng, it would be fine. But who would have thought that he stood out and at the end said that the Azure Dragon School and Chu Feng was going to live together and die together? Damn, isn't he just ruining all of us? Who would say he isn't? The Qilin Prince's mansion and the Lingyun School already both stated that those who don't clear up their relationship with Chu Feng would be met with the catastrophe of family extermination. By doing this, it is equal in letting the Azure Dragon School meet the fate of school extermination. If we don't quickly clear this relationship up, we will be dragged down by it as well. I really hope that Chu Feng gets quickly arrested by the people from the Qilin Prince's mansion and dies. He truly brings death along with him. Let's not talk about this and let's quickly leave this zone of disaster. After hearing the words of those people, Both of Chu Feng's fists couldn't help but tightly clench. However, after that, they gradually relaxed and opened. But his face was still quite ugly. When he was in his times of glory, all those people were zealously trying to set up a relationship with him to increase their flaunting capabilities. But when Chu Feng was in his times of hardships, they were the first to escape with their tails between their legs. They didn't even think about Chu Feng's safety. Rather, they blamed Chu Feng for cutting off their future. Chu Feng, after some thinking, "There's one thing that I should tell you." Suddenly, Chu Iwei, who was next to Chu Feng, spoke. "Chu Iwei, what is it?" Chu Feng asked. "I heard that in the period of time before, Su Rou and Su Mei, the two sisters, announced that they cleared up their relationship with you and recognized a person like you as a disgrace. However what? However, they did not personally say those words. Their father Su Hen said those words for them." Chu Iwei spoke. I understand." Chu Feng lightly smiled and nodded his head. Although on the surface, his emotions did not have too big of a chance. A raging lump of anger was lit up in his heart. Chu Feng, that old useless lamp called Su Hen, really needs some taking care of. I suggest that you suck him dry to kill him. Eggy felt unfairness for Chu Feng. "I have my plans." Chu Feng did not reply about that because what he was thinking of was not how to take care of Su Hen. What he was thinking of was what situation the sisters Su Rou and Su Mei were in, and whether they were in danger or not. After that, with special methods, Chu Feng successfully brought the Chu family members to the area where the 1,000-bone graveyard was. But on the road, Chu Feng saw what was true hotness and coldness of the world's attitude, and cool and warmth of human emotions. Pretty much all the disciples and elders from the Azure Dragon School left that area to clear their relationship with Chu Feng and the Azure Dragon School. After coming to the 1,000-bone graveyard, Chu Feng did not go down with the Chu family members. He first opened the tunnel to enter the 1,000-bone graveyard before them, because he had to get permission from the Azure Dragon founder. At first, after hearing Chu Feng's words, the face of the Azure Dragon founder changed greatly, and he was even a bit angry. Although he did not speak, Chu Feng already felt his intentions to decline. However, after stating the importance of those people to Chu Feng, the Azure Dragon founder was shaken. At the end, not only did he grant Chu Feng's request, he even promised that he would guarantee the safety of the Chu family members. In the 1,000-bone graveyard, to hit the iron while it was hot, Chu Feng also took the chance and requested to also allow Li Jiangqing and the other people from the Azure Dragon School to enter this place for shelter. This time, without even hesitating, the Azure Dragon founder permitted it. So, after getting his family settled nicely in the 1,000-bone graveyard, Chu Feng left and went forward to look for Li Jiangqing, the old man who was willing to give up the entire Azure Dragon School for himself. At that instant, Li Jiangqing was standing on the peak of a palace while observing downwards from above towards the disciples and elders who were slowly leaving the school. Zhuge Liuyun and the 6 protectors were also next to him. As they looked at the large batches of human currents surging down from the mountain, complicated expressions were hung on the old people's faces. It was the so-called, "The human heart is difficult to predict, and one's true feelings are shown when disaster strikes. But the truth always made one's heart ache. The people who always followed behind you, who bootlicked you, and who swore loyalty, left without a single care of righteousness when you met a calamity who had experienced such a feeling. If they leave, they leave. It's better for them to leave." With disciples and elders like these, the Azure Dragon School will have no way of truly becoming powerful. Zhuge Liuyun was afraid that Li Jiangqing would have burdens, so he went up to console. "Ho, no need to look down on me like that, right? Why would I feel sorrow because disciples likes them left? Actually, I'm very happy because I know that my judgment isn't bad. Look at all the disciples that I had good impressions towards from the start. Aren't they remaining behind?" Li Jiangqing turned his head around to look behind him. Nearby, there were 59 young core disciples standing there, and 38 elders with quite good cultivation. Those were the good seedlings that Li Jianqing hiddenly chose. Not only did those people have quite good martial cultivation talent, the most important thing was that they also had a loyal heart. They had the heart to share the hardships of the Azure Dragon School, and the heart to die for the Azure Dragon School. With facts, it proved that Li Jianqing did not pick the wrong people. At the times when the Azure Dragon School was going to face life and death, the disciples stayed behind. What time are we leaving here? You wouldn't truly want them to just stay here doing nothing while waiting for death, right? Zhuge Liaoyun asked. Of course not. We wait until not a single person remain. Then we start our journey. We must guarantee the survival of the outstanding people from my Azure Dragon School. Only they can revive my Azure Dragon School. Li Jianqing replied. I wonder where that boy Chu Feng went. I hope that nothing happened to him. Zhuge Liaoyun looked towards the distance, and a touch of worry surged into his eyes. After hearing Chu Feng's name, almost everyone's faces couldn't help but turn emotional. Oh, you old people are here looking at the scenery, eh? But just at that time, a familiar voice suddenly rang out behind Li Jianqing and the others. After hearing that voice, the faces of Li Jianqing and the others rejoiced, and they quickly turned their bodies around. After seeing the person clearly, their originally already happy faces became incomparably ecstatic. Chu Feng, nothing happened to you. This is great. After seeing Chu Feng, Li Jianqing and the others were endlessly emotional. They quickly walked over and they started to look up and down, carefully, and with detail at Chu Feng as if they were deeply afraid that Chu Feng suffered injuries. Heh, am I not fine right now? Chu Feng chuckled, and following that, he looked at the elders and disciples behind them and said to Li Jianqing, school head, these are the good seedlings that you said earlier, not bad. Of course, no matter what time it is, my eyes will not be bad. However, this time, you seem to have caused quite a trouble. It looks like all of us will need to go along with you on some days of difficulty and homelessness. Li Jianqing smiled as he patted Chu Feng's shoulder. Although he said those words on the surface, he did not have even the slightest intentions of blaming Chu Feng. I'm afraid that none of you will be in any difficult and homeless days now. Chu Feng chuckled and said, Chu Feng, you boy, what are you talking about? After hearing those words, Li Jianqing and the others couldn't help but be taken aback. Just follow me. As Chu Feng spoke, he wanted to leave, but then he stopped his steps, turned around towards the good seedlings that Li Jianqing picked and said, call them as well. The crowd did not know what Chu Feng was doing, so even after Chu Feng brought them to that forest, they were still lost and confused. Only until Chu Feng started to lay a spirit formation, to condense a spirit formation entrance, out did Zhuge Liaoyun react. With an astounding face, he pointed at the spirit formation entrance that Chu Feng laid with disbelief and said, Chu Feng, you wouldn't have solved the mystery of the 1,000-bone graveyard and found its entrance right. Chu Feng, is that true? You opened the 1,000-bone graveyard. Seeing that, Li Jianqing and the others also quickly went up to closely ask. As for the others, their faces changed greatly, and astonishment filled them. What kind of place was the 1,000-bone graveyard? It was a legend of the Azure Dragon School. There was not a single person in the Azure Dragon School who did not know about the 1,000-bone graveyard, but no one could find it. The people who did see the 1,000-bone graveyard mostly died. It was said that only a small number of people did not die, but they became idiots who went insane. If Chu Feng really opened the 1,000-bone graveyard today, that was equal to solving the near 1,000-year-old unsolved mystery of the Azure Dragon School. That naturally caused people to look forward to it, but they also felt that it was inconceivable and hard to believe. As he faced the crowd's expressions of yearning, Chu Feng finally lightly smiled and nodded his head, then said, I did indeed find the 1,000-bone graveyard, but I have not solved the mystery in there. However, I have good news to tell everyone here. Everyone can survive underneath this place because of the special structure at that area. It is absolutely fine even if everyone lives there for dozens of years. By hiding underneath, the people from the Qilin Prince's mansion and the Lingyun school will certainly not be able to find you, let alone harm you. Also, at that place, there is also something that can help everyone quickly make breakthroughs. The benefits that that thing brings cannot be compared to origin medicines or profound medicines. However, the most important thing is that underneath, everyone will also see a person that you undoubtedly will not expect. Chu Feng, who is it? Yet Chu Feng, who else can be in here? Don't stir up any suspense. The people whose blood started to boil by Chu Feng's words were extremely eager to know what person was actually under there to be able to let Chu Feng cause such huge suspense. The school founder of my Azure Dragon School, the Azure Dragon founder, Chu Feng calmly said, "What? Chu Feng, what did you just say? Say it again." After hearing those words, almost everyone's pupils suddenly shrunk, and they did not dare to believe the words that they just heard. Right now, the Azure Dragon School's founder is underneath here. Chu Feng reiterated it with emphasis. Chu Feng, what joke is this? 1,000 years has already passed since the creation of the Azure Dragon School. How is it possible that the ancestor is still surviving? An elder did not believe the words that Chu Feng spoke. That's right, Chu Feng, there are some words that you cannot speak randomly. In reality, many people did not believe it as well. If you don't believe, follow me and come. Look, then you'll know. Chu Feng lightly smiled and he didn't explain. He stepped into the spirit formation entrance first. After seeing Chu Feng disappear, Li Jiangqing and the others became even more nervous. They first looked at each other for a while, then following that, they tidied up their clothing, and when they felt that they were extremely orderly, they followed Chu Feng's steps and went down. After passing through the spirit formation, they discovered that Chu Feng was standing in front of them while smiling and looking at them. Beside Chu Feng, there was another person standing there. An old man who also had a smile on his face. That old man wore an azure robe, had a fly whisk in his hand. His entire body emitted faint radiance, and he also emanated extremely strong aura like a saint. Disciple Li Jiangqing, the 22nd Azure Dragon School head, pays his respects to the school founder. At that instant, Li Jiangqing's excited body was trembling, and he hurriedly knelt onto the ground and paid his great respects to the Azure Dragon founder. As for the 6 protectors and the other elders and disciples, they were even so shocked that they could not take care of themselves. It was as though they were arriving into a realm of dreams, as they blankly stared at the Azure Dragon founder. They even thought that everything in front of their eyes wasn't true, and only after a long while did they slowly come to their senses, and quickly knelt and paid their great respects to the Azure Dragon founder. Everyone, rise, be at ease. As for the Azure Dragon founder, he did not have the slightest bit of arrogance as he pulled Li Jiangqing and the others back up. After that, the Azure Dragon founder introduced the benefits of the essence pool to Li Jiangqing and the others, and he told them how to cultivate within the essence pool. After knowing the abstruse effects of the essence pool, everyone was extremely excited because that could allow their cultivation to increase greatly. Especially Li Jiangqing. He even had hopes to charge towards the unreachable heaven realm. However, no one dared to ask about why the Azure Dragon founder was still living, where the 1,000-bone graveyard led to, or where the several tens of thousands of bones came from, because they, who incomparably respected the school founder, did not dare to ask about those things in situations when the Azure Dragon founder would not speak about it. After understanding everything, Li Jiangqing and the others started to move the important goods of the Azure Dragon School into the 1,000-bone graveyard. They even accumulated a large amount of foods and resources, because they did not know how long they were going to live in there for. As Li Jiangqing and the others were busy with all that, the Azure Dragon founder called Chu Feng out to a more quiet corner and said to him, "Chu Feng, because of my special body, I have no way of leaving the 1,000-bone graveyard, so I'm afraid that I cannot help you regarding the predicament that you are facing this time. However, I have a present for you. Perhaps in critical times of danger, it can protect your life." As he spoke, the Azure Dragon founder pointed his finger towards Chu Feng's forehead. At that instant, Chu Feng's face instantly changed greatly. An insane happiness surged into both of his eyes, because the Azure Dragon founder was currently imbuing a martial skill to him. It was a very profound bodily martial skill, although the rank of the martial skill was not labeled, although Chu Feng had not cultivated it yet. Just by knowing the cultivation methods of this martial skill, Chu Feng knew that it was a much more profound bodily martial skill than the Imperial Sky technique. Within the many martial skills that I have created in my life, this is the one I am most pleased with, but it is also the one that is the hardest to cultivate. Air is a bodily martial skill that can resist the air to walk, but is different than the conventional bodily martial skills. It does not move according to one's own physical abilities. It relies on the martial skill itself to travel forward. I have not determined the ranking of this martial skill because it has infinitely neared rank 9 martial skills, but in reality it is still lingering between that and rank 8 martial skills. This isn't the only rank 8 martial skill on this continent, but it is the strongest martial skill I can create. So I was not satisfied with that, and I didn't set a rank for it, nor did I pass it down to anyone. However, if you can grasp it, it will certainly become your best life-saving ability. As long as you can proficiently grasp it, I believe that very little people can catch up to you." The Azure Dragon founder seriously said, "Ancestor, is there a name for this martial skill?" Chu Feng already generally understood the mysteriousness of the martial skill. It was exactly as how he said it was. It was an unordinary martial skill. It was incomparable to typical bodily martial skills, such as the Imperial Sky technique. As he faced Chu Feng's question, the Azure Dragon founder only lightly smiled and said, "Dragon traveling through 9 heavens." After helping his family Li, Zhangqing, and the others settle in, Chu Feng left the Azure Dragon School and went forward to the Vermilion Bird City, because currently within the Azure Province, there were still 2 more people who Chu Feng could not let go. They were Su Ro and Su Mei, the 2 beautiful sisters. Relying on his sharp spirit power, when Chu Feng arrived outside of the Vermilion Bird City, he discovered that there were actually layers of detection, spirit formations laid by a gray cloak world spiritist, and within the Vermilion Bird City, he felt that there were many people who did not belong to the Vermilion Bird City hidden within. All of that told Chu Feng that the current Vermilion Bird City was very possibly a trap, yet he had to jump into the trap, or else he could not save the 2 sisters Su Ro and Su Mei. Chu Feng sneaked into the Vermilion Bird City, and he first went to both Su Ro's and Su Mei's residences, but he discovered that the 2 of them weren't there. Because of that, Chu Feng couldn't help but start to worry, and at the end, he sneaked into Su Hen's residence and he wanted to find some clues from him. Indeed, the heavens do not disappoint those who persevere. And not long after Chu Feng sneaked into Su Hen's palace, Su Hen hurried back from outside, and he even brought 3 guests along. It was a gray cloak world spiritist from the Lingyun School. As for the other 2 people, they were both old people. One had black hair as black as ink, and the other had white hair as white as snow. They were the peak experts of the Lingyun School, and they were 2 of the 12 protectors. They are indeed the people from the Lingyun School. Let's see what tricks all of you are playing with. Chu Feng did not immediately go out to question Su Hen. He concealed his aura, hid in a corner, and silently observed every single movement and action of the 3 people. My lords, please sit." After entering the hall, Su Hen was like a submissive servant, and he nodded and bowed towards the 3 people from the Lingyun School as he poured tea for them. For the first time, Chu Feng discovered that the Lord of the Vermilion Bird City had such top-level bootlicking skills. "City Lord Su Hen, it seems what you said wasn't too true. You said that Chu Feng loves your 2 daughters so much that he could go between life and death for them. So, after knowing that your two daughters cut off their relationship with him, he should certainly come here to ask why. But why, after so many days have passed, are there no news about Chu Feng? The white-haired protector asked. This, perhaps Chu Feng has weak love and little righteousness, or perhaps Chu Feng already escaped the Azure province and left my two daughters behind. Su Hen chuckled and explained. Then that means that your two daughters have really loved the wrong person. But even if Chu Feng comes, he would only be sending himself to his death. City Lord Su Hen, your two daughters are too rare beauties, but sadly they have been contaminated by Chu Feng, and they are still not willing to cut off their relationship with Chu Feng even up until now. I'm afraid that this will affect the future development of your Su family. After all this time, it is the Lord of the Qilin Prince's mansion speaking, and he wants to completely kill every single person who is related to Chu Feng. The black-haired protector spoke. My lords, this. After hearing those words, Su Hen was not lightly frightened. He wanted to explain, yet he did not know how to explain, and he started to stutter. Hey, City Lord Su Hen, you don't need to be afraid. Actually, right now, I have a method that can save both you and your two daughters. The black-haired old man smiled and said, My lords, please, Su Hen quickly asked. Although the three people in front of them were people from the Dragon School, because their strength were overbearing and had a close relationship with the Qilin Prince's mansion, Su Hen truly did not dare to offend them. Rather, he was very afraid of them. As he looked at Su Hen's face full of fear, the black-haired old man said, The ones who harmed you were your two daughters, and the ones who can save you are still your two daughters. Without hiding the truth, Lord World Spiritist of my Dragon School has not married, yet even to this date. However, it was love at first sight towards your two daughters. If you marry your two daughters over to him, who would dare to even touch your Su family? The black-haired protector spoke. That's right, I received a secret news, and it was that the Grey Cloak World Spiritist from the Qilin Prince's mansion suddenly disappeared. Right now, there is absolutely no information on him, and it is very possible that he has met with misfortune. So, within the current borders of the Azure province, our Lord World Spiritist is the only Grey Cloak World Spiritist. Even the Qilin Prince's mansion treats him respectfully and well. Su Hen, if you marry your daughter off to Lord World Spiritist in the future, your Su family will certainly rise greatly. Just at that time, the white-haired protector spoke to urge as well. Lord World Spiritist, you truly want to marry my two daughters? Su Hen was also quite shocked as he faced the sudden news. That's right, City Lord Su Hen. If you are willing to marry Su Ro and Su Mei over to me, I will certainly not treat you bad. But perhaps he was too excited and happy. The Grey Cloak World Spiritist took his hood off, which was covering his face, and revealed his incomparably ugly appearance. It had to be said that the old guy's looks were truly, extremely ugly. Shrimp nose, triangular eyes, pumpkin head, pockmarked face, and he was even bald. After seeing the appearance of the Grey Cloak World Spiritist, Su Hen instantly took in a breath of cool air. Most likely, it was also his first time that he had seen such an ugly old man. But after remembering his special identity, powerful strength, and strong background, he forcefully suppressed his shocked expression and said while smiling, Not only will it be my honor to betroth my daughters over to you, Lord World Spiritist, it will also be the honor of my Su family's ancestors. As he spoke, Su Hen walked out. Shortly after Su Hen walked out, the white-haired protector spoke to the Grey Cloak World Spiritist. My lord, are you really going to marry those sisters? Right now, the school head and the mansion lord have given a death order, and as long as the person had a close relationship with Chu Feng, no matter if they announced that they cut off their relationship off from him or not, they were still to be beheaded. You really don't understand me well, but will I not understand the character of Lord School Head? However, Su Ro and Su Mei are rare beauties. Within all the girls that I have seen, These two girls are absolutely the most beautiful. The only person who can be compared to those two is only Yan Ruyu from the Jade Maiden School. It would truly be a shame if such beauties were killed off, but wouldn't it be a bigger shame to not experience how they taste? In a while when Su Hen calls them over, I will take that chance and bring the two of them into my room. You two also come as well to nicely enjoy these two rare beauties. The Grey Cloak World Spiritist smiled and said lecherously, "Haha, thank you, Lord World Spiritist." After hearing the World Spiritist's words, the two old protectors were also endlessly joyful, and they revealed lustful smiles. As well, there were even some reactions from the lower body. It could be seen that the two of them already had malicious intents towards the sisters Su Ro and Su Mei. Damn, these three lewd old guys has plans with my Su Ro and Su Mei. Later on, I will certainly make all of you pay the price. Chu Feng, who was hiding in a corner and saw every single thing, was already consumed by anger, and cracking noises sounded from the clenching of his fists. There's also that Su Hen. He's the most worthless one. Chu Feng, you must finish Su Hen off, or else who knows how he will deceive your Su Ro and Su Mei again. Eggy's little face also reddened from anger as she grinded her teeth. She truly could not accept it. Su Hen, as a father, was selling his own daughters in such a way. Don't worry, not a single one should even think of escaping. In reality, even if Eggy did not remind him, Chu Feng was already determined. It had to be said that Su Hen's efficiency in doing work was rather fast, and with a split moment, the closed door was reopened. With a full face of solicitousness, Su Hen walked in, and there were even two beauties with absolute prettiness and extremely good figures following behind him. They were Su Ro and Su Mei. After Su Ro and Su Mei appeared, the expressions of the three old things from the Lingyun school instantly changed greatly. Every single one of them smiled as if a flower blossomed in their hearts, and all anger was released. Their lewd eyes started to spin around randomly as they restlessly swept over Su Ro's and Su Mei's faces of absolute beauty, as well as their figures worthy of pride. Beautiful, too beautiful. City Lord Su Hen, you truly gave birth to a pair of good daughters. The Grey Cloak World Spiritist no longer had the manner of a big character. He rubbed his hands, licked his lips, and walked towards Su Ro and Su Mei. My Lord Father, where's Chu Feng? Where did Chu Feng go? However, Su Ro and Su Mei did not even pay attention to the three old men, and with excited expressions, they were searching for another person's figure within the room. Chu Feng isn't here. Even if he dares to appear in this place, he will only be an icy cold corpse. After hearing the two words Chu Feng, the face of the Grey Cloak World Spiritist became a bit ugly, because he knew that the sisters Su Ro and Su Mei already gave their hearts for Chu Feng. So from jealousy and envy, he truly hated Chu Feng straight to the bones. Su Hen, you have tricked us again. What reason do you have by deceiving us to this place? At that instant, Su Ro was the first to react. She pointed at Su Hen and questioned. She no longer called Su Hen as father, because she really felt that the male in front of her eyes was not worthy of being their father. Reason. Su Hen, have you not told them yet? The Grey Cloak World Spiritist first looked at Su Hen, then smiled in Su Ro and Su Mei, and said, my two precious, your father has already agreed to give you two to me. From now on, the two of you are mine. Heh, what? Su Hen, is this true? After hearing those words, Su Ro became, without a doubt, terrified. Father, how can you treat us like this? Do you even take us as your daughters? At the same time, the little face of the usually cute Su Mei paled from anger. Even her eyes rutted slightly, because in these past few days, the sisters truly received quite a few wrongs. Ah, little Mei, I as your father am doing this for the sake of you. Chu Feng, he committed crimes and treason. He had actually joined up with Chi Fengyang to assassinate the mansion lord. There is no place for him to say within the continent of the 9 provinces. Sooner or later, he will be caught and executed. As for you two, your relationship with Chu Feng before was too close. If the relationship doesn't get completely cut off, you will only be dragged down by him. However, right now, Lord World Spiritist has had his eyes on you too, and he is willing to take you too as his wife. Not only is this good luck for you, it is also good luck for our Su family. Su Hen explained. Rubbish, you aren't even a person. You are not worthy being our father. Su Ro pointed at Su Hen and furiously insulted. Father, I never would have thought that you were this kind of person. I truly feel ashamed by having you as my father. Su Mei also had a face full of grievance. Okay, Su Hen, your two daughters are too stubborn. I need to fix them up, or else if they speak nonsense in the future, even I can't protect them. At that instant the gray cloak, world spiritist, was a bit impatient. With a thought, a layer of spirit formation surrounded Su Ro and Su Mei within. No matter how much they struggled, they had no power to escape. At the same time, the black-haired protector and the white-haired protector also threw Su Ro and Su Mei, who were binded by spirit formations, onto their shoulders. As they spoke, the three old things started to walk out of the palace. My lords, this. Seeing the three old men's attitude, Su Hen, who had quite a bit of life's experiences, instantly understood what the three old men were going to do. He quickly walked forward, and he was deeply afraid that the three old guys would taint his own daughters just like that. Su Hen, what are you doing? Do you want your Su family to be like the Gong family from the Black Tortoise City, to have your entire family exterminated? Seeing that Su Hen had actually dared to obstruct, the gray cloak world spiritist's face instantly sank. I don't dare. That terrified Su Hen, and he quickly went out of the way and denied. He even apologized at once, but after seeing Su Ro's and Su Mei's gaze full of hatred and their reddening eyes, Su Hen still bit down his teeth and said, however, my two daughters are still young. If you don't dare, then scram. If you disturb my interest, I'll annihilate your Su family. The gray cloak world spiritist coldly snorted, then passed the door and exited. ****. But just at that time, a boundless spirit formation suddenly shrouded the main hall and blocked the path of the three old guys from the Lingyun school. When they faced such a change, it caused the white-haired protector and the black-haired protector to be stupefied a bit as they turned around and said to the gray cloak world spiritist, my lord, what are you doing? This wasn't laid by me. The gray cloak world spiritist had shock across his face because not only was the spirit formation which enveloped the main hall a gray-colored spirit formation, the quality of the spirit formation was even quite a bit better than his. You three old things truly have nerves that can cover the sky. You dare to even touch my people. Just at that time, a loud and clear voice suddenly resounded out from the main hall. After hearing that voice ring out, the faces of pretty much everyone on scene changed greatly, and after they looked towards the direction of the voice, they were even more stunned. Chu Feng, it's you. As they looked at the young man standing in the corner of the main hall, the three old men from the Lingyun school were incomparably surprised. They never would have thought that Chu Feng, who they were so painstakingly searching for, would actually appear in front of them by himself. When Su Ro and Su Mei saw Chu Feng, their faces were full of joy, but after joy, the sisters' faces were full of concern. It was because the three old monsters from the Lingyun school were truly too strong. Even though they knew that the current Chu Feng had so much battle power that it could rise to the sky, they were still worried whether Chu Feng would be able to defeat the three old guys or not. However, compared to them, Su Hen had a face full of terror and fear filled his eyes. Even his body was trembling because he was really too afraid of Chu Feng, especially when he remembered Chu Feng's identity of Mr. Gray Cloak, and after he remembered the warning that he gave him, he was even more frightened. HMPH truly cannot be found even after searching to the ends of the world, yet no effort is required to obtain it. Chu Feng, we were searching so hard for you, but now you actually send yourself straight to the door. On that day, Chi Fengyang saved you. Today, let's see who will save you this time. The white-haired protector was incomparably mad with fury, and the scene of Chu Feng crushing Dugu Oyun to death that day was still clear in his mind. As long as he thought of that, The anger within his body started to surge everywhere. After Chu Feng appeared, he was already unable to control his own emotions. He attacked first. Before that, he threw Su Ro, who was on his shoulder, over to Su Hen, then emanated his aura of the 9th level of the profound realm, and with a leap, he pounced towards Chu Feng. Chu Feng today, this will be called returning a debt of blood with blood. At the same time, the black-haired protector also threw Su Mei, who was on his shoulder, over to Su Hen. He displayed a profound bodily martial skill, and in addition to a savage attacking martial skill, he pressed towards Chu Feng. Those two, as expected as part of the famous 12 protectors of the Lingyun school, they were truly in the peak of the profound realm. And immediately after the might of the attacks came out, the entire palace trembled as if it would split at any second. If it wasn't for the spirit formation Chu Feng laid, the entire palace would have been destroyed. Chu Feng, after feeling the horrifying might from the two people, Su Ro's and Su Mei's little faces were deathly white from fright. They couldn't avoid screaming, and they were deeply afraid that Chu Feng would be unable to block the attacks of the two. Boom, but just at that time, Chu Feng's body moved and the ground underneath their feet couldn't help but tremble. Following that, a burst of boundless pressure came along with it. Chu Feng's hands changed into an eagle's claw, and it suddenly stretched out and locked onto both protectors' throats. Then his arm waved, and with a bang, the two of them ferociously crashed onto the ground. The strong power slammed them to the point that blood sprayed out of their mouths, and the bones in their entire body shattered. After the two old men landed on the ground while being half dead, Chu Feng spat with contempt and coldly said, "What you should be thinking of is whether there is anyone who can save you. Chu Feng, you." Seeing the two protectors in the peak of the profound realm being defeated by Chu Feng with one strike, the Grey Cloak World Spiritist showed his teeth, and his expression was called wonderful. But it was quite understandable after some careful thinking. After all, no matter how much stronger the two protectors were, they were absolutely not stronger than Dugu Oyun. If Dugu Oyun couldn't even defeat Chu Feng, how could the two of them be able to? Thinking to that point, the Grey Cloak World Spiritist did not attack Chu Feng, and instead, he used an extremely strong martial skill to attack the spirit formation that Chu Feng laid. He actually wanted to escape, but as he faced the Grey Cloak World Spiritist's miserable appearance, Chu Feng did not do anything to him. He only stood where he was and silently stared at him, as if he was looking at an amusing clown. Boom, damn it. Despite one powerful attack after the other was thrown out, despite one layer of ripple after the other was spread out, despite the Grey Cloak World Spiritist using up everything he had and using up all sorts of methods, he had no way of breaking the spirit formation that Chu Feng laid. It caused him to feel a bit of panic and anger. Suddenly, the Grey Cloak World Spiritist turned and became a gust of wind. He dashed towards Su Ro and Su Mei. Since he had no results from escaping, he planned to use Su Ro and Su Mei as hostages. But how could Chu Feng give him that chance? With a flash of light under his feet, in a blink, he arrived in front of Su Ro and Su Mei. Following that, he threw a punch towards the incoming Grey Cloak World Spiritist, and it directly landed onto his chest. Strong power forced the Grey Cloak World Spiritist back. Crackling noises came from his chest, and even his internal organs were currently being crushed and crumbled. That pain was truly heart-wrenching and lung-splitting. However, that was merely the beginning. How would Chu Feng so easily let anyone who had any ideas with Chu Feng's women? Before the Grey Cloak World Spiritist even landed, with lightning speed, he darted behind him again. He grabbed his robe and fiercely threw him onto the ground. After he fell onto the ground, Chu Feng first stuck his left foot out, and with cracking noises, he snapped his left leg. Then his right leg also suddenly dropped down, and with more cracking noises, he snapped his right leg. After that, Chu Feng grabbed his crotch area. He tightly held the vulgar thing within his hand. Chu Feng, what are you going to do? With that, the Grey Cloak World Spiritist panicked. It didn't matter if it were the other body parts, as he could heal them. But if that place was destroyed, there was no way of recovering it. The genitals, they were the root of life. Those things could not be joked around with. Ah, tilde, tilde, tilde. The pain under his groin caused the gray cloak world spiritist to endlessly shriek and to never-endingly miserably wail, because that was not only physical pain, it was also the pain in his soul. He knew that his life was finished, and even if he could continue living, he was fated to become a crippled person. So he loudly yelled at Chu Feng, kill me, kill me. Even if I become a ghost, I will not forgive you. Don't worry. Even if you don't plead, I will still kill you." Chu Feng chillily smiled, formed a fist with one hand, and threw it towards the old man's head. With a bang, his skull exploded like a watermelon, and it exploded into pieces. Just that time, suddenly, a strand of light that was quite difficult to detect drilled out from the exploded head. Chu Feng was already prepared for that situation. He raised his hand, grabbed, and the light was grasped within his hand. "Damn Chu Feng, let me go, let me go." At that instant, within Chu Feng's palm, the voice of the gray cloak world spiritist sounded out again. But this time, within his voice, he no longer had the heart to wish to die. Rather, it contained incomparable fear. It was the consciousness that he condensed before dying. As long as the consciousness was there, he would be able to survive. But if this consciousness was destroyed, he would certainly completely die. HMPH. I remember telling you that you wouldn't even be able to be a ghost. Chu Feng coldly smiled and his hand suddenly squeezed. Ah, tilde, 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 this time. The gray cloak world spiritist made his last miserable cry and forever left the world. After killing the gray cloak world spiritist, Chu Feng walked towards the two other protectors who still survived with some breaths left. He arrived in front of them and asked, "Where is Chu Feng right now?" "I don't know." The black-haired protector ferociously howled, and he had a full face of resolution. But before he even finished speaking, Chu Feng raised his feet and completely crushed his head. "How about you? Do you know where Chu Feng is right now?" Chu Feng looked towards the white-haired protector. Don't kill me. I'll tell you everything that I know. I'll tell you everything that I know. Speak now." Chu Feng entered the heaven realm, and that caused the master of the Qilin prince's mansion to be extremely nervous. He was nervous that Chu Feng would threaten his position, so he joined hands with my school head, Yan Yang Tian, and captured Chu Feng. Then, with Chu Feng committing treason as the reason, they locked him up. In a few more days, he will be executed. Right now, Chu Feng is imprisoned within the Qilin prince's mansion. However, Chu Feng abruptly kicked, and like the black-haired protector, he died the same way. After killing the three of them, Chu Feng took their cosmos sacks from their waists, then absorbed and refined their source energy. Only then did he cast his gaze towards Su Hen and slowly walk towards him. Currently, both of Su Hen's feet were trembling. This entire body was trembling. After he, who was originally already afraid of Chu Feng, personally saw him kill the three experts in the peak of the profound realm with ruthless methods, he could truly imagine how miserable his death would be. Suddenly, the city lord of the Vermilion Bird City knelt to the ground and endlessly kowtowed to Chu Feng. "Chu Feng, please spare me. Please spare me. I was truly forced and had no other choice. I had no intentions of harming you. For the sake of little Ru and little Mei, please spare my life and give me a chance to change and start over. It's fine no matter what you do to me, Chu Feng. However, you ignored your daughter's happiness many times in order to continue living in this world. You truly aren't qualified to be a father." Chu Feng slowly walked over with a pressing killing intent. "Little Ru, little Mei, quickly plead for me. I know that I have wronged, and I won't force you to do anything else in the future. I will listen to you two no matter what I do." Seeing that it was useless begging to Chu Feng, Su Hen climbed towards Su Ro, and Su Mei hugged his two daughters' legs and started to wail. Chu Feng, don't kill my father. No matter how many thousands or tens of thousands of wrongs he did, he is still our father. He's the only close family member we have in this world. Su Mei was the first to go soft-hearted as she cried and begged for Su Hen. Chu Feng, spare his life. No matter what, he is still our father. If he wasn't here, we wouldn't be here. No matter what he did wrong, we can only choose to forgive. Su Rou also spoke. At that instant, Chu Feng stopped his steps. After that, he opened both of his arms, and a wave of strong attraction power surged out and sucked the sisters Su Rou and Su Mei into his embrace, leaving only Su Hen where he was. Chu Feng, I beg you, don't kill my father. As Su Mei, who was hiding in Chu Feng's embrace, hugged Chu Feng, she raised her sweet and beautiful little face to look at Chu Feng with her already tearful eyes. Her gentleness and softness was currently used to the limit. Chu Feng, spare him. After him, he's our father. Su Rou also begged. The eyes of her, who was usually strong, also started to turn red. It could be seen that deep in her heart, she also had very strong feelings towards Su Hen. The so-called blood is thicker than water, and it was indeed like so. Chu Feng, bring my father with us and let's leave together. Together, we will give him a chance. Su Rou was also begging. At that instant, Chu Feng was in a slightly difficult situation because he truly did not want to bring a person who he did not trust over to that place. But after seeing the two beauties in front of him, he still bit down and said to Su Hen, "You should be happy that you have two good daughters." Finally, Chu Feng let Su Hen go. Not only did he not kill Su Hen, instead, he prepared to bring Su Hen along with the sisters Su Rou and Su Mei back to the Azure Dragon School, and he planned to get all of them settled in the Azure Dragon School. Before leaving, Chu Feng gave Su Hen some time to let his Su family disperse. Although by doing this, the Su family would disappear, and the Su family members would be homeless. Their lives would be kept. Seeing that his Su family, which ran the Vermilion Bird City for many years, scatter like that, Su Hen's face was all complicated. He who almost died seemed to no longer be greedy like before, and it was as if he came to a realization about something. After that, since Su Rou and Su Mei pleaded, he picked up their elder brother Su Long from his place as well, and with their family of 4, they hurried towards the Azure Dragon School. Chu Feng, thank you for leaving me with my life. On top of the white-headed eagle, Su Hen was sitting next to Chu Feng, and he seemed to want to say something, but at the end he could not. No need to thank me or anything. I left you with your life only because of your 2 daughters. I, Chu Feng, know what the feeling is to have no father, so I don't want them to have a taste of that feeling as well. I know that even up until now, you can't let the Su family go. You can't let so many Su family members go, but you need to know that to you, the most important people should be your 2 daughters and your son, because when you are close to death, they are the only people who will be willing to stand out to protect you. Chu Feng seriously reminded. You're correct. I was too confused before. In the future, I will certainly do my best to compensate for them. Su Hen had regret across his face. Also, I need to remind you this. To people, the most important thing is dignity. If you live life like you just did without any dignity, you will never, ever, have anyone truly look at you with good eyes or good impressions. For forever, you will only be called here and there like a dog by others. When needed, they would use you. When unneeded, they would kill you at any time. Chu Feng added, perhaps you are correct. But when a person doesn't have enough strength yet need to protect a family of old and young, they are truly powerlessly. Su Hen smiled very helplessly. Chu Feng's heart was suddenly shaken when he saw Su Hen like that. Although he was indeed greedy for life and scared of death, in reality, he wasn't as horrible as imagined. He was only using his own methods to protect him and his family, to protect his clan. However, it was only that his method was too weak, and it was not approved by Chu Feng. But when a person didn't have sufficient strength nor a powerful background, what could they do if they wanted to protect themselves and their family? Perhaps most people would be like Su Hen as well, being forced to yield in order to maintain safety. and ignoring the long-term damages for the short-term benefits. Because if they wanted to live, they truly had no choice. With some careful thinking, Chu Feng felt that he truly could not completely blame Su Hen because in this world, there were no small number of people who sold their sons and daughters in order to live. Although having not enough strength was part of the reason, the most important part was that this world was too real, and reality was too cruel. After a while of hurrying, Chu Feng successfully sent Su Rou, Su Mei, Su Long, and Su Hen to the Thousand-Bone Graveyard. At that instant, Chu Feng's tense heart finally relaxed. No matter if he was going to live or die after his journey, at least currently, there was a safety guarantee for the people who were most important to him. After nicely settling them in, Chu Feng was going to leave. But no matter what, Su Rou wanted to go out to send Chu Feng off. "Chu Feng, do you truly need to go? I know that Senior Chief Feng Yang gave you kindness as heavy as a mountain, but you clearly know that in this journey, you won't have much luck, yet you still want to go. This isn't a smart action, and I believe if Senior Chief Feng Yang knew, he would also not be willing to let you do this." Within the mountain forest over the Thousand-Bone Graveyard, Su Rou was tightly gripping Chu Feng's hand. Both of her eyes reddened, and 2 rows of tears flowed down her charming face. She knew what Chu Feng was going to do, and she truly did not want Chu Feng sending himself to death. "Just stay here, guard and look after little Mei and my family. In this place you can gain even stronger power, and I entrust all of them with you." Chu Feng pulled Su Rou's hand away. "Must you really do this?" However, Su Rou grabbed Chu Feng's hand again and she held on even tighter. At that instant, Chu Feng did not overly explain. He only lightly smiled and said, "If I don't do this, I won't be Chu Feng. You understand me?" After hearing Chu Feng's words, Su Rou was a bit moved. She did indeed understand Chu Feng. It wasn't that he wasn't rational enough, but he would choose to put down his rationality many times to ignore anything, to ignore the consequences, in order to do the things that he felt were right. That was how he did things. That was Chu Feng. "We will be here and wait for you to come back." Su Rou finally let go of his hand, and her cuteness caused one's heart to ache. "Good, I will return quickly." Chu Feng gently wiped the tears away from Su Rou's face, then lightly kissed her forehead. Su Rou also no longer bothered him, and she turned around and entered the Thousand-Bone Graveyard Spirit Formation entrance. After Chu Feng left the Thousand-Bone Graveyard, he rose into the air. He stepped in the sky and stood on the horizon. Reminiscently, he looked at the Grand Azure Dragon School, the place that taught him about martial cultivation. He did that because he did not know whether the Azure Dragon School would still be remaining the next time he returned here. Asterisk whoosh asterisk suddenly, Chu Feng leaped and became a row of light as he flew towards the distant horizon. He did not ride on the white-headed eagle because currently he was quite low on time. Under situations like that, obviously, his Imperial Sky technique would be quicker than the white-headed eagle. At the same time that Chu Feng left the Azure Dragon School, Su Rou returned to the Thousand-Bone Graveyard. When she entered the Thousand-Bone Graveyard and her vision returned to normal, she discovered that everyone in the Thousand-Bone Graveyard already stood in a row while looking at herself with complex faces. Some people who were younger couldn't hold the sorrow in their hearts and started to silently sob. "Sister!" Suddenly, Su Mei leaped into Su Rou's embrace and loudly cried. Her cry was abnormally sad, and from that, almost everyone on scene couldn't help reddening their eyes. At that instant, Su Rou's eyes also reddened as well, but she forcefully held it back and did not cry. She stroked Su Mei's black and shiny hair and said, "We need to believe in him." Actually, after some counting, the day to the execution of Chief Feng Yang in the Qilin Prince's mansion hadn't arrived yet, so even if Chu Feng rode Little White to the Qilin Prince's mansion, he would still make it. The reason why Chu Feng was so hurried was because his current target was not the Qilin Prince's mansion, but the Valley of 100 Bends. Chu Feng had to save Chief Feng Yang, but he was absolutely not going to blindly send himself to death. In a situation such as that, The first thing that Chu Feng thought of was actually not to charge into the dragon's pool and tiger's cave with a single pike and horse. He first requested for help from Chu Fengyang's old friend, the mysterious expert hiddenly living within the Valley of 100 Bends. "This is Chu Feng. Senior, something has happened and I wish to pay you a visit. Senior, I hope that you can meet with me once." "Senior, Senior, are you here? I have something that I want to discuss with you." Chu Feng arrived at the peak of the mountain, but he did not directly break into the spirit formation to enter. He stood over the vast white clouds and extremely politely paid his respects to the hall. After the matters that happened last time and from Chu Fengyang as well, he understood a bit more of the situation. Chu Feng felt that the mysterious expert who was hiddenly living in seclusion was very possibly a strange person. Facing a person like that, he had to follow etiquette. With some slight incautiousness, it could very possibly cause that person to be furious. However, after having no results from yelling for so long, Chu Feng had no choice but to forcefully intrude. He first bowed, then said, "Senior, I truly do have a request for something. Please forgive me for my impoliteness." As Chu Feng spoke, he broke past the spirit formation and arrived outside of the hall within the clouds. At first, Chu Feng yelled a bit more, but after still having no results, he spread his spirit power out. However, he astonishedly discovered that on the surface of the palace, there was an extremely powerful spirit formation. That spirit formation was too strong. Not only was it difficult to break through, it could even cut off spirit power. "Senior, I do not know whether you are here or not, but right now, Senior Chu Fengyang is in huge trouble. 2 days later, he will be executed in the Qilin Prince's mansion. I hope that for the sake of the relationship between you two, you can save his life." As he was in a situation in which he had no way of stepping into the hall, Chu Feng could only loudly yell, but he received no reply. "Chu Feng, just leave it. Don't beg him anymore. Didn't Chu Fengyang say it? This person understands the things in the Azure province better than anyone else. I believe that even without you informing him, he already knew about what happened to Chu Fengyang. But no matter if he is in here right now or not, he must already know about Chu Fengyang's matter. He chose to remain silent, so that means that he is a person who cares very little about relationships, and he wouldn't reveal his identity for the sake of Chu Fengyang's life." Eggy advised with hidden anger. At that instant, Chu Feng was in a really difficult situation. It wasn't that he did not understand that reason, but he still wanted to fight for it because right now, the mysterious expert was his only hope in saving Chu Fengyang. However, with some calculations of time, Chu Feng was forced to leave that place. Before leaving, Chu Feng, who was unwilling to admit defeat, still left a letter at the entrance. Similarly, it was begging for the expert to go forward to save Chu Fengyang's life. At the end, Chu Feng left with no results, and his journey over there was wasted. As he brought that disappointment, that helplessness, Chu Feng resolutely advanced to the Qilin Prince's mansion. He vowed to save his sworn elder brother, Chu Fengyang. Time passed, and with a blink of an eye, the day of Chu Fengyang's execution arrived. On that day, in the sentencing ground outside of the Qilin Prince's mansion, big characters from cities, powers, and schools from all directions gathered here. Almost everyone in the Azure province who had a head and face came. They did not want to miss out the moment of execution of such a shockingly big character in the Azure province, Chu Fengyang. Outside of the vast sentencing ground, people formed mountains and oceans. Chu Fengyang was binded by special chains all over his body, and even his mouth was sealed tight. Injuries were over his entire body. His aura was extremely feeble, and he was laying down on top of the 14-meter-tall sentencing stage. Above his body was a big and sharp guillotine. Chu Fengyang was going to be split into two by the guillotine. Ah, such a good character dying like this is truly a pity. Yeah, another Heaven Realm expert, so difficulty appeared in my Azure province, but he will now actually die in such a way. There's nothing worthy of pity here. He cannot escape from the crimes that he had committed. If he successfully killed Lord Mansion Master, Wouldn't that be even bigger pity? No matter how much stronger Chu Feng is, he wouldn't be stronger than the mansion lord, right? At that instant, some people felt pity for Chu Feng, but some people also felt that Chu Feng deserved it. But as everyone was hurrying towards the sentencing stage, Chu Feng hiddenly sneaked into the inner sections of the Qilin Prince's mansion. The lord of the Qilin Prince's mansion was a member of the Lin clan. He was called Lin Moli, and most likely exactly because of that special reason, he could not tolerate Chu Feng, who also entered the heaven realm, because that did indeed threaten the position of him being the mansion lord. But to Chu Feng, that was not the important part. The important part was that Lin Moli had a son. It was his only son, and Lin Moli doted on him extremely. But regrettably, his son was trash. Not only was his martial cultivating talent extremely horrible, he was also addicted to woman. He was the trashiest existence in the young generation of the Qilin Prince's mansion. Baby, you're too beautiful. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Be obedient and don't move wildly. I will take you as my wife and grant you wealth and money. I will grant you endless resources and let you become a martial cultivation expert. No, my lord, please let me go, please let me go. I don't want wealth and money. I don't want endless resources, and I don't want to become a martial cultivation expert. I only want to go home. Within a luxurious palace on top of a big bed, there was a female who was young and beautiful. She was curled up in a corner while trembling and sobbing. On the other side of the bed, there was a fatty who had incomplete clothing, and he was currently staring at that woman with tiger-like eyes. It was as if a wolf was staring at a sheep. Like looking at his own prey, he already drooled from lecherousness. That was the son of Lin Moli, Lin Chang. Damn woman, you don't give face and you don't want face. If you don't obey me, do you believe that I will kill your entire family, then throw you into the army camp and let my guards of the Qilin Prince's mansion take turns with you until death? Seeing that the soft way didn't work, Lin Chang's face changed and he went for the hard way. No, don't harm my family. Indeed, after hearing Lin Chang speak like that, the woman knelt onto the ground and begged in fright. HMPH, then be obedient and don't move. You must cooperate. The women I dislike the most are those who don't cooperate. The women who didn't go along with me all got fed to my pet. As he spoke, Lin Chang pointed towards a corner in the room. There was a fierce beast with a sinister appearance and blood-red eyes. The fierce beast was currently eating something. Looking at it more closely, it was a person. Lin Chang did speak the truth. The women who did not cooperate with him were indeed all fed to that fierce beast. However, he did not tell the young woman that even those who did cooperate with him were also fed to the fierce beast. I'll listen to you, I'll listen to everything. The young woman was terrified. As she sobbed, she nodded and started to take her clothing off and prepared to comply with Lin Chang's actions. Wah! But just as Lin Chang was preparing to enjoy the beauty in front of his eyes, his cherished fierce beast suddenly made a miserable cry. Turning his head around to look, Lin Chang's face couldn't help but greatly change because his cherished pet already presently became a pile of muddled flesh. There was even a young man standing next to the pile of muddled flesh with an evil smile. Insolence! Who are you? You dare to harm my pet? At that instant, Lin Chang was furious. He stood up and prepared to yell for someone. Asterisk whoosh asterisk, but just at that time, like a ghost, Chu Feng appeared in front of Lin Chang. He used his hand to cover Lin Chang's mouth and fiercely pressed himself to the bed and strangely smiled and said, "SHH, be quiet. I'll bring you to play something more exciting." Within the sentencing grounds outside of the Qilin Prince's mansion, there were more and more people gathering. At the same time that they were staring at Chu Feng on the sentencing stage, they would also look at the two people who were standing in front of the sentencing stage. One of those two people wore a robe and the other wore golden armor. Both of them gave off unordinary atmosphere, and they had the cultivation of the heaven realm. Respectively, they were the head of the Lingyun School, Yan Yang Tian, and the lord of the Qilin Prince's mansion, Lin Mo Li. Those two were the strongest characters in the Azure province. Them being at the same place was such a rare scene so naturally. Many people would feel excited because of that, but sadly those people could not hear the whispers of those two. From what I see, we should quickly kill Chu Feng first. If this gets dragged out for too long, it will only increase hidden troubles. Lin Mo Li looked at Chu Feng and his eyes were full of worry. Mansion Lord, you don't know how monstrous that Chu Feng is. This child must be removed, or else, with the methods that he grasps, he will be able to surpass us two in less than 3 years. At that time, the ones who will be in a bad situation will be us. Yan Yang Tian explained, even if there is a bad situation, the one who will be in that will be you. Chu Feng and your Lingyun school has grudges, but he doesn't have any grudges with my Qilin Prince's mansion. Lin Mo Li coldly snorted. Even though the person he was facing was Yan Yang Tian, he was still very prideful. After all, putting aside strength in terms of status, he was the true ruler of the Azure province. Ho, Mansion Lord, don't say it in such a way. If it was before, Chu Feng and your Qilin Prince's mansion did indeed have no grudges. Rather, there were some friendly relationships. But the present is different from the past. You are going to kill Chu Feng's sworn elder brother. With his nature, if he takes revenge, your Qilin Prince's mansion will certainly be in a more miserable state than my Lingyun school. Yan Yang Tian sneered and said, no wonder you did whatever you could to urge me to get rid of Chu Feng. So you were intentionally pulling me down with you. At that instant, Lin Mo Li felt a bit angry. Ah, Mansion Lord, don't say it like that. Am I not doing this for you? Chu Feng is the chief of the Qi clan, and you are a Lin clan member. Are you not worried that in the future he will usurp your position? Yan Yang Tian smiled and defended himself. Then do you dare to be sure that Chu Feng will certainly come and save Chu Feng? Will he truly be idiotic to this state and come forward to his death? Lin Mo Li had some doubts. From my understanding after investigating Chu Feng, he is a person like that. But do not say that he is idiotic because he is a little demon who has quite some methods. Even if you and I guard here, we cannot be careless. Yan Yang Tian smiled and said, My lord, this is bad. Just at that time, a prince's mansion guard ran over with a panicked face. What is it? Seeing that, Lin Mo Li's eyebrows lightly furrowed. Lord Lin Chong has disappeared and the fierce beast he raised has been killed by someone. The guard nervously replied, You group of trash, if you can't even look after a person, what's the point of having you here? After hearing those words, Lin Mo Li's face instantly changed greatly, and as he spoke he was going to leave. Where are you going? Seeing that, Yan Yang Tian quickly blocked his path. Of course it is to find Chonger. He is my only son and I cannot let any incidents happen to him. Lin Mo Li replied, You cannot do that right now. How can you leave at this time? Perhaps this is Chu Feng's plan to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Yan Yang Tian said. After hearing those words, Lin Mo Li was even more worried. So, he angrily said, Then I need to look for him even more. If anything happens to my Chonger, will you carry that responsibility? If Chu Feng gets saved by Chu Feng and when the two of them come back after many years, the people who die will not only be your Chonger, it will be your entire Qilin Prince's mansion and my entire Lingyun school. Besides, your Chonger might not have been taken away by Chu Feng. Mansion Lord, I ask you to clearly understand the current situation. Yan Yang Tian's expression was grave, and he reminded Lin Mo Li with every single word and sentence. At that instant, Lin Mo Li was a bit shaken. Being the ruler of the Azure province, he could naturally determine which one was more significant. At the end, he endured the anxiousness in his heart and stayed behind, silently waiting for the arrival of noon, silently waiting for the appearance of Chu Feng. However, time passed by bit, and Chu Feng from start to finish had never appeared. That caused Lin Mo Li and Yan Yang Tian to be uneasy, because what they were afraid of the most was Chu Feng not appearing. If he appeared, they were 90% confident that they could kill Chu Feng, and they could remove the hidden disease. But if Chu Feng did not appear, then from this day forth, they would live through every day, every hour, in uneasiness because they would not know which day the genius who broke common scene, the horrifying god of killing, would slaughter his way back and kill all of them, with ruthless methods, without leaving anything behind. It is noon. Finally, a loud yell rang out, and at that instant, everyone's hearts were raised to their throats because the time of Chu Fengyang's execution had arrived. The Heaven Realm expert was going to be killed. At that instant, Yan Yongtian and Lin Moli were extremely uneasy because Chu Feng did not appear. It meant that Chu Feng gave up on saving Chu Fengyang, and in the future, their days and nights would be lived in anxiousness. As for Chu Fengyang, he only gradually closed his eyes. He already confirmed the result. This result was actually the one he looked forward to the most. At least he would not affect anyone else. However, as for the crowd who did not know about the inner matters, they had complicated emotions as they tightly stared at the huge guillotine. They awaited for the descent of the guillotine, and the scene of Chu Fengyang being cut into two. Mansion Lord. At that instant, the person responsible for the beheading cast his gaze towards Lin Moli. As for Lin Moli, he first looked at Chu Fengyang, then he said with a full face of helpless, "Kill." Whoosh asterisk, but immediately after Lin Moli spoke, a cold light flew over. The speed was fast and the power was strong. It directly shot through the guard's head, and the person responsible for the execution died on scene. Who? At that instant, everyone was shocked. They couldn't help casting their gaze towards the direction in which the cold light flew from, and at that instant, they could clearly see the figure of a young man with his feet in the air while standing and floating. That young man was exactly Chu Feng. The current Chu Feng was hung in midair. The Azure Dragon School's long robe on his body fluttered along with the wind, and on his shoulder there was even a huge gunnysack. With an evil smile on his face, he swept over the crowd and said, "Excuse me, everyone. I, Chu Feng, have come late." Chu Feng. It is actually Chu Feng. How does he dare to come to this place? How is he able to walk in the air? Heavens! Could it be that Chu Feng also entered the Heaven Realm? No, that's not right. His aura is still clearly in the third level of the Profound Realm, and it is the same as when he fought with Du Gu Oyun. Chu Feng's appearance caused yells of surprise from everyone, no matter if they recognized Chu Feng or not. At that instant, they were dumbfounded and disbelief filled their eyes. "Chu Feng, you've got quite the nerve to come here. You actually dare to appear in front of me." But compared to others, Yan Yongtian was greatly joyful, and without saying anything more he flew up and arrived behind Chu Feng to block his escape. "Let my brother Chu Fengyang go, and I'll temporarily not chase after today's matter," Chu Feng calmly said without being the slightest bit afraid. HMPH. "Chu Feng, quite big words you have there. What capabilities do you have to speak to me like that?" Lin Moli arrogantly smiled widely. After seeing Chu Feng, his tense heart was finally eased. With what? With him, Chu Feng only coldly smiled and suddenly threw the gunnysack on his shoulder away. Then, a body appeared in front of everyone's faces. That person was a big fatty. He was completely naked and he did not wear a single thing. On his waist, there was a big sign, and the sign just happened to obstruct the view of his groin. The most important thing was that on the sign with fresh, red blood, there were 4 big words written on it. "I am a pervert." Then when one looked at his face, they would see that it was Lin Moli's son, Lin Chang. The current Lin Chang was tormented a bit miserably. His hair was made quite similar to a chicken's nest, and he was beaten up to the point that his nose turned blue and his face swelled up. He was being held in the air by Chu Feng grabbing his neck, and he was painfully struggling. Yet he was powerless to escape. Changer. After seeing Lin Chang, the face who changed the greatest was none other than Lin Moli. He pointed at Chu Feng and fiercely said, "Chu Feng, quickly let my Changer go or else I'll cut your corpse into 10,000 pieces." "Oh, I say, Mansion Lord, who are you scaring right now? If I don't let him go, you will cut my corpse into 10,000 pieces. But then if I let him go, won't you split?" My corpse with 5 horses. Damn, I haven't even seen you before, yet you let word out and said that I tried to assassinate you. You gave an order to kill me, not even letting people who are related to me go. At the end, I appear in front of you right now, and god damn, you still let out such nonsense. I'll say this to you, speak less rubbish, and let my brother Chu Feng go, or else I'll skin your trash son alive. As Chu Feng spoke, he took out a dagger from his waist. The dagger flashed with cold glare, and it was extremely sharp. Chu Feng took it from Lin Chang's bedroom when he passed by it. For scaring people, this thing was more useful than the bow of 100 transformations that Chu Feng could condense out at any moment. You dare! Seeing that, the face of Lin Moli, who doted extremely on Lin Chang, instantly changed greatly from fright, and he threatened with an angry bellow. HMPH, I don't dare, look clearly, see whether I dare or not. But Chu Feng only coldly snorted, and following that, his arm suddenly dropped down. The dagger in his hand turned into a row of white light, and it streaked past Lin Chang's hand. Ah tilde tilde tilde. After streaking past, Lin Chang instantly made a miserable cry, which was like a ghost crying and a wolf howling, because 3 of his fingers were already cut off by Chu Feng. The agony caused his head to be full of sweat, and his tears and snot also flowed out, because he who stood high on top had never felt such pain. Chu Feng, I will kill you. That scene did not anger Lin Moli lightly. His old face turned purple from fury, and his face wished it could eat Chu Feng alive. What did you say? I couldn't hear it clearly. Chu Feng coldly smiled, and his blade cut down again. This time, he cut off 2 of Lin Chang's remaining fingers. Ah tilde tilde tilde. At that instant, Lin Chang was even louder, and with sobs, he yelled towards Lin Moli. Father, quickly release Senior Chi, or else your son I will be tortured to death by him. Release him. Release Chu Feng. Seeing his precious son in such a miserable and painful state, Lin Moli's heart ached even more, and he quickly ordered the release. No, he cannot be released. In response, Yang Tian quickly yelled, what I say here goes. I said release him. Quickly release him. Lin Moli was also angered. To him, there was nothing else more important than his son. Naturally, the guards of the Qilin prince's mansion would not dare to go against Lin Moli's intentions. They hurriedly untied Chu Fengyang's ropes and dragged him down away from below the guillotine. Stay away from the sentencing stage. Chu Feng furiously howled. Lin Moli, who was deeply afraid that his son was going to be harmed, did not dare to be slow. He quickly ordered everyone on the sentencing stage to leave, and he himself also quickly left the sentencing stage. Only after everyone was far away from the sentencing stage, and himself, did Chu Feng hold Lin Chang with one hand and arrive onto the sentencing stage. At that instant, Chu Feng could truly feel how weak Chu Fengyang was. It could be seen that in these days, he did not suffer any small amount of torment. At least the current Chu Fengyang did not have the slightest bit of battle power remaining. Brother, your younger brother, has come late. Chu Feng supported Chu Fengyang up, and guilt filled his face. Ho, you damn boy, I knew you would come, but now's not the time to put up an act like that. Since you have come, you need to bring me out alive, or else even if I become a ghost, I won't forgive you. Chu Fengyang was very weak, but he was very happy, because that at least meant that he did not help Chu Feng for nothing before. That he, Chu Fengyang, did not choose the wrong person. Don't worry, even if you become a ghost, you have me, your younger brother, who will come with you. Chu Feng calmly smiled, then his gaze became abnormally sharp. He first scanned around the crowd, then his gaze landed on Yang Tian, who was standing in midair, and he loudly said, move. Today, don't even thinking of leaving here alive. But Yang Tian did not move at all. He guarded his position, and killing intent filled his gaze. I told you to move. Seeing that, Chu Feng did not have mercy. He raised his hand, grabbed Lin Chang's arm, then twisted back. With a snap, Lin Chang's arm was forced into a V shape. Ah tilde tilde. Damn, Yang Tian quickly scram. Lin Chang grimaced from the pain, and he angrily and loudly cursed. Yang Tian, move. This is an order. At the same time, Lin Mo-li, who loved his son and was extremely anxious, also roared at Yan Yang Tian. Facing Lin Mo-li's forceful attitude, Yan Yang Tian was tightly frowning, and he was stuck in a difficult situation. But at the end, he still cooperated, and not only did he retract his ceiling pressure, he also obediently backed away to the side. Seeing that, Chu Feng propped Chu Feng with one hand and grabbed tightly onto Lin Chong with the other. After that, light flashed under his feet, and with a swish, he explosively shot out like a meteorite. He madly ran towards the horizon in the distance, and the direction he was escaping towards was the Valley of 100 Bends. Want to leave? It won't be that easy. At the same time, Lin Mo-li and Yan Yang Tian almost moved at the same time, and their speed were even quicker than Chu Feng as they chased after him. Heavens, Chu Feng has actually saved Chu Feng with his own power. This boy has so much nerves that it can cover the sky. But on that topic, he is able to walk on air with his cultivation. So is it possible that he got the inheritance of the Imperial Sky Sage? After Chu Feng and the others left, the originally completely silent sentencing ground instantly went into an uproar, and everyone was stupefied by the scene that happened just now. Chu Feng, a young man being only 16 years old, courageously intruded into the sentencing grounds of the Qilin Prince's mansion, and with his own power he took Chu Feng away from the hands of the two Heaven Realm experts, the lord of the Qilin Prince's mansion, Lin Mo-li, and the head of the Lingyun School, Yan Yang Tian. That just simply sounded like a legend. Although Chu Feng did rely on special methods to do all that, but purely that resourcefulness, that bravery, that strength could not be found on many people. So that caused a large number of people at that moment to not feel that Chu Feng was doing any unrighteousness. Rather, many people displayed admiration, especially the younger generation. Some even idolized him because Chu Feng's current actions were something that they dreamt of doing, yet did not dare and could not do. As people felt shock for the various things that Chu Feng was doing, he was running in the air for his life. As he ran, he howled towards Yan Yang Tian, who was getting nearer and nearer. If you continue following me, do you believe that I will kill Lin Chong? Kill, go ahead and kill. Not only was Yan Yang Tian not afraid, he even mocked him with cold words. Lin Mo-li, tell him to back away or else I'll kill your son right here. Chu Feng knew that Yan Yang Tian did not care about the life and death of Lin Chong, so he cast his gaze towards Lin Mo-li, who was behind Yan Yang Tian. Mansion Lord, do not be threatened by this boy. Today, he must not be able to escape or else the future troubles will never end. At that time, it wouldn't be as simple as just your son dying, but an entire clan. Seeing that, Yan Yang Tian also quickly urged, and, as he spoke, he continued approaching near Chu Feng. Simultaneously, the pressure of the horrifying Heaven Realm also started to hiddenly envelop Chu Feng. After hearing Yan Yang Tian's advices, even Lin Mo-li started to hesitate. Although his precious son was important to him, if he were to compare his son to the entire Qilin Prince's mansion, that decision was actually not hard to make. Seeing that Lin Mo-li was already shaken, and Yan Yang Tian was pursuing relentlessly, Chu Feng's brows tightly furrowed, and he was aware that the situation wasn't good. So his face couldn't help turning sinister, and a touch of decisiveness flashed into his gaze. He grabbed Lin Chong with one hand and raised him highly up. After that, layers of profound power unceasingly surged from his palm, and he ferociously said to Yan Yang Tian and Lin Mo-li, you two have forced me on this. Today, you better not let me escape or else, even if you hide to the ends of the skies or the corners of the oceans, in the future I will still kill both of you. As he spoke, Chu Feng suddenly tightened his palm and the terrifying profound power surged into Lin Chong's body. He swelled up bigger and bigger, and at the end, with a huge explosion, Lin Chong became a mist of blood that floated in the air. The fresh, red mist of blood floated around in the air, and the perverted Lin Chong already completely died. Chu Feng did not give him a single chance to survive. At that instant, Lin Mo Li and Yan Yongtian were both taken aback, and they were astounded by Chu Feng's action. Yan Yongtian never would have expected that. He never would have expected that Chu Feng really dared to kill Lin Chang, because after all, Lin Chang was currently Chu Feng's only tool of protection. As for Lin Mo Li, saying that he had the greatest reaction was the closest description. The son he doted on so much, the son whom he treated like a treasure, was killed by someone at that moment. He was even killed in such a way that there wasn't even a corpse or any remains. How could he possibly be able to remain calm? Chu Feng, I will cut your corpse into 10,000 pieces. Suddenly, Lin Mo Li howled towards the sky, and his furious bellow was like thunder, yet also like the sound of the king of beasts. Even the air trembled slightly from the shaking, as if it was going to collapse at any time. The birds and beasts within dozens of miles ran and flew in random directions. At the same time, two waves of horrifying heaven realm pressure covered the sky and earth as it surged out. It was pressure from the gathering of heaven power. That special power surged in the air, and one could clearly see that even the air was slightly quivering, as though it was afraid of the wave of savage power. Damn it, the pressure of the heaven realm is truly too strong. Before the pressure had actually even arrived, Chu Feng was able to feel the huge power. Even his blood was boiling and his organs were twisting. The bones in his entire body were creaking and making sounds, as if his entire body was going to shatter. Although the current Chu Feng borrowed Egge's power, and he was an expert in the third level of the profound realm, when facing powerful people in the heaven realm, he was able to truly feel how weak he was, to the point that he could not even take a single strike from them. Chu Feng had not the slightest bit of doubt that if the two waves of pressure were to approach, without them even using any other methods and with purely the pressure, it could crush him to death alive. It could crush him so that his bones would turn into powder, and he would become a mist of blood. But Chu Feng was not an idiot. Almost at the same time that he killed Lin Chang, he already linked with Egge and gave his body over to Egge to control. So when Chu Feng's pupils shrunk, his body was already completely taken over by Egge. Mansion Lord, don't kill him and leave him with his life. This Chu Feng has too many secrets on his body, and not only does he have the bodily martial skill to walk on air, I'm afraid that he also grasped secret skills from the legends. Let's first find out what secrets he has on him before slowly torturing him to death. At that instant, Yan Yongtian was even secretly sending a mental message to Lin Mo Li, and he felt that Chu Feng's little life was already completely grasped within his hand. His greedy heart caused his goal to land on the secret skills on Chu Feng's body. After hearing those words, Lin Mo Li, who was originally filled with the flames of fury, recovered a bit of reason. Naturally, he was going to let Chu Feng pay the price, but at the same time, he wanted to get the special methods from Chu Feng's body. It would have great benefits for both his Qilin Prince's mansion and for him. *Huyuwu *. But just at that time, black-colored gas suddenly surged out from Chu Feng's body. The appearance of the gas was like a black cloud that covered the sky. At the same time, it brought along sounds that were like ghosts crying and wolves howling, as well as bone-piercing chilliness. That chilliness was not icy cold, but it indescribably strange. The most important part was that after the black-colored gas appeared, Chu Feng's aura rapidly rose, and it was over several times stronger than before. This feeling is very strange. It is as if all the dark energy in the world is gathering here. Could it be that there is a demon in Chu Feng's body? As they faced such a change, even Yan Yongtian and Lin Mo Li's expressions changed greatly and they were frightened. It was because at that instant, the aura Chu Feng emitted was too strange. It was not something that humans should have. Even the cruel fierce beasts or monstrous beasts did not have such frightening aura. *swish*. In the instant that Lin Mo Li and Yan Yongtian were being shocked, Chu Feng's body abruptly leaped forward and he became a strand of light. With the black-colored gas, he explosively shot towards the distant horizon. The speed was fast, and it simply caused one's tongue to be tied. It was more than several times quicker than the Chu Feng before, who was using the Imperial Sky technique. Quickly chase, and he cannot be able to escape. Kill him now. He cannot be left alive. At that instant, Yan Yang Tian and Lin Moli were terrified because within the black-colored gas, they felt unprecedented horror. That threatening feeling simply made one's hair stand up and one's bones to chill, as they couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. When such odd gas came from Chu Feng's body, naturally, it caused them to be endlessly nervous. They set their determination to kill Chu Feng right now. They could absolutely not give any chances for breathing or for turning the situation around, because they truly did not know what kinds of methods that could defy the heavens remained in the young man's body. But the time was too late, and the black-colored gas already started to condense, and it became a pair of huge black-colored wings that extended from Chu Feng's back. The black-colored wings were several times larger than Chu Feng's body. A single one was dozens of meters long, and black-colored feathers filled them. Other than the feathers, black-colored gas surrounded them, and it was like the ignition of flames. The most important part was after the black-colored wings appeared. With every flap, it would create a violent hurricane. Not only did the strange hurricane increase Chu Feng's forwarding speed, it even obstructed Lin Moli and Yan Yang Tian. Damn it, is it possible that this boy isn't a person? How can he have such strange power? Are these even methods that a human has? Yan Yang Tian, who was even chatting happily before, was currently putting all he had in his old life to chase. He no longer had his earlier calmness, and he did not dare to have a single strand of restraint, because even if it was him, he already currently used all the methods he had, but he was still pressured if he wanted to catch up to Chu Feng. At that moment, he was being left behind bit by Chu Feng, and the speed in which he was doing so became quicker and quicker. Bastard, stand still. Today I will skin you alive. Compared to Yan Yang Tian, Lin Moli already entered an enraged state. The fury that was suppressed filled his body once again, and it filled his heart. It was because he could not tolerate that. He could not tolerate that his son was killed in front of his face. Yet he could only watch as the killer left in such an arrogant way while he was completely powerless. He had to kill Chu Feng. So strong, so this is Eggy's power. Eggy, aren't you a bit too strong? At the same time, Chu Feng was also stunned by Eggy's methods, because at that instant, the method she displayed was absolutely several times more exceptional than his Imperial Sky technique, and it was simply not even discussable together. Although his body was being controlled by Eggy, Chu Feng could still feel that the two Heaven Realm experts were currently being left behind by Eggy from far away. The distance between them even got further and further. At least in terms of speed, they clearly could not match her. But just at that time, Chu Feng, who was being controlled by Eggy, suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. The black-colored gas that lingered around Chu Feng's body also instantly diminished quite a bit. Eggy, are you okay? Seeing that, Chu Feng instantly tensed up because he knew that something happened to Eggy. Damn it. I can't maintain this state for too long, and your body can't bear my as well. Eggy bitterly said. Then quickly stop. Let me control my body again. Chu Feng was aware that the situation was bad, so he started to loudly yell. He wanted to regain control over his body, and he didn't want to let Eggy risk her life in order to continue struggling. No. If I hand your body back to you, will you be able to escape from their hands? If you get caught by them, both you and I will die. Since death is at either left or right, why not let me stake it all against them? However, Eggy did not even give Chu Feng the chance to seize his body back again. She unyieldingly wiped the blood on the corner of her mouth, and a touch of resolution flashed into her eyes. After that, with the grinding of teeth, she continued to control Chu Feng's body and did all she could to urge the black-colored wings at her back to do its best to fly forward. Eggy, you At that instant, Chu Feng's heart really ached. He could feel that Eggy was putting her life on the line. She was doing it for him. However, the feeling of hiding behind a woman while being completely helpless was not fun. In a situation like that, Eggy's power became weaker and weaker. The black-colored gas that coiled around her turned fainter and fainter. Her absolute advantage in speed also started to diminish, and at the end, completely disappeared. Not only were they unable to throw the two people behind them away, instead, the distance that was uneasily pulled apart was shrinking bit by bit. That brat's speed has become slow. Quick, grab onto this chance and eliminate him with one strike. We cannot give him the tiniest chance to breathe. Xianxia, who was incomparably panicked at first, instantly rejoiced when he saw that not only did Chu Feng lose his previous horrifying speed, he even started to sway in the air, seeming that he was going to fall at any time. As he madly yelled, he used the heaven power in his entire body and used all the power in his body to chase Chu Feng. This time, do not give him any chances to escape. I will first split him into 8 pieces, then cut his corpse into 10,000 pieces, then tear him into shreds, then crush him into blood and foam. The current Lin Moli had violent fury surging in his eyes, and his entire body was emitting bone-piercing killing intent. Also, without holding anything back, he staked everything to chase after Chu Feng. Suddenly, another mouthful of blood was spat out from Chu Feng's body. At the same time, the black-colored wings behind Chu Feng's body also immediately disappeared, and his body started to fall, straight into the mountain forest. Below, will I truly lose to 2 such weak humans? This is too funny. At that instant, Chu Feng was still unable to control his own body, but next to his ear he could hear Eggy's voice that contained extreme bitterness and weakness. Damn it, damn it. However, he could not do anything because Eggy's awareness was already hazy, and the control over Chu Feng's body could not be given back to him. So, Chu Feng could only feel but not do anything while he and Chi Fengyang on his shoulder rapidly dropped. Boom. Finally, Chu Feng and Chi Fengyang landed within the mountain forest, and the strong force caused a huge pit to be created in the ground. It gave rise to a burst of strong fumes, and within the forest, the wild birds scattered, and the wild beasts escaped in random directions. Damn brat, so even you have your times of exhaustion. Let's see where you escape this time. At the same time, Xianxia quickly followed. As he looked at the rolling, thick smoke below, he was endlessly ecstatic, but he no longer dared to have the slightest trace of carelessness. He first used his own pressure to envelop everything below, and only after guaranteeing that Chu Feng's only escape was sealed, he gradually descended. Whoosh. Just at that time, Lin Moli also caught up. As he was filled with fury, he jumped straight into the thick smoke and angrily bellowed, "Chu Feng, hand your life over." Lin Moli waved his big sleeve and blew the vast smoke away. However, after everything was able to enter their eyes, no matter if it was Lin Moli or Xianxia, both of their expressions changed greatly. They grimaced, and their appearances were abnormally wonderful. It was because they discovered with astonishment that despite a huge pit was there, Chu Feng's figure wasn't there. Chu Feng was actually not there, and he disappeared without any explanation. Where's the person? Where's the person? Where did he run off to? Come out. Lin Moli grabbed a bit onto insanity as he started to madly howl. Look, there are words over there. Just at that time, Xianxia jumped over and pointed his fingers towards the deep pit. Following the direction of Xianxia's fingers to look, even Lin Moli was shocked. Within the deep pit, there were indeed 8 big words. The 8 big words were written with powerful strokes while containing the airs of completion. The content of the 8 words were Azure Dragon Mountain Range, Life and Death Battle. This ... After seeing those 8 big words, Xianxia and Lin Moli first took in a breath of cool air. Then following that, they looked at each other and discovered that in both of their gazes, blankness, uneasiness, and fear surged similarly. What do we do? Is it possible that someone saved Chu Feng? Lin Mo was frightened by such a sudden scene, and he instantly recovered his rationality, and he was no longer as mad as before. That isn't it. If there was truly a more capable person who helped, there would be no need for Chu Feng to around in such a big circle. Chu Feng certainly used some special methods to conceal both of our eyes and escaped. After all, that brat does originally grasp many inconceivable methods. Yan Yang Tian explained. Then what should we do now? Lin Mo, the Grand Lord of the Qilin Prince's mansion, had actually lost a sense of what to do. What else can we do? There is only one path that can be walked, and that is towards the Azure Dragon School. Yan Yang Tian cast his gaze towards the Azure Dragon School. 2 days later, within the Valley of 100 Bends, within the halls in the clouds, Chu Feng confusedly opened his eyes. His memory still remained on the scene in which Chu Feng was carrying him on his back, while escaping and falling into the mountain forest. He had not the slightest bit of recollection regarding the scenes that came later. "You're awake." Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out. Raising his head to look, it was his old friend, the master of this hall, the mysterious expert, the Blue Cloak World Spiritist. "How about Chu Feng? Where is he? You should have saved him, right?" Chu Feng stood up with a sang, and at that instant his body already completely recovered, and he was anxiously searching for traces of Chu Feng. "Don't worry, I already saved him." The mysterious expert calmly smiled and said, "Heh, Brother Hengyuan, I knew that you wouldn't have just left me to die." Only after hearing those words did a smile appear on Chu Feng's face. He asked, "Where's Chu Feng? Where did you take him to?" "I sent him to a place that he should have went to." The mysterious expert calmly sat on the rocking chair made of bamboo. He held a broken fan and started to fan himself. A place that he should have went to. Chu Feng had confusion across his face. "I, Jiang Hengyuan, once swore that I wouldn't interfere with the matters of the Azure Province, and that I wouldn't participate in the affairs of the Azure Province. I only aimed to search for the divine body. I broke the rules that I set this time in order to save you and Chu Feng. The reason why I saved his life wasn't for your sake. It was for the sake of him being a good seedling. He already has such talent at such an age. As long as he can continue to develop, his future achievements will not be any worse than the young generations of other provinces. I'm afraid that one day he will even catch up to the little monsters in my dynasty, because within this boy's body there seems to be some type of special power. As for what it is, even I can't say for sure. However, what I had my eyes on wasn't that. It was that he was willing to risk his own life in order to save you. Not many people have such spirit, so he was worth my help." Jiang Hengyuan explained like that. At that instant, Chu Feng only faintly smiled, and he no longer asked about Chu Feng. He started to chat with Jiang Hengyuan about some normal familial matters. He understood Jiang Hengyuan. His help this time was indeed an exception. And for Chu Feng to have such evaluations from Jiang Hengyuan stated that Chu Feng was currently, without a doubt, in a safe zone. Simultaneously, in a place which was very distant from the Valley of 100 Bends, Chu Feng opened his eyes in a daze and rubbed his swollen and aching brain while scanning his surroundings. But after clearly seeing everything in front of his eyes, his complexion couldn't help changing greatly, and his eyes instantly grew round. Unbelievable shock surged within his eyes, and he said with incomparable astonishment, "Where is this place? High-quality profound medicine, medium-quality profound medicine, low-quality profound medicine, top-quality origin medicine, high-quality origin medicine, medium-quality origin medicine, low-quality origin medicine, top-quality spiritual medicine, high-quality spiritual medicine, medium-quality spiritual medicine, low-quality spiritual medicine." Apart from those cultivation resources, there were also all types of healing remedies, nurturing tonics, including special armor and weapons created with special materials. At that very instant surrounding Chu Feng, those treasures were organized tidily, and the present Chu Feng was unexpectedly within an enormous treasury. "What is this place? There is such a large amount of resources. I'm rich. I am truly rich. Chu Feng's mouth was opened widely from shock because he truly fell into a mountain of gold. Why, Chu Feng, you've become rich. There are so many profound medicines. Just at that time, Eggy's voice also sounded out in Chu Feng's brain, and the state of her voice was called a vigorous dragon and lively tiger. Not only did she not seem injured at all, rather, she seemed even healthier than before. Eggy, you're awake, nothing happened to you. This is truly great. After hearing Eggy's voice, Chu Feng was also incomparably joyful because, within his memories, Eggy used forbidden methods in order to save him, but at the end fell into the mountain forest because of the lack of strength. Yeah, I am actually fine and nothing happened to me. This is very strange. Chu Feng, wasn't it you who saved me? Similarly, Eggy also had a full face of confusion, and her pair of shiny eyes blinked a few times while emanating puzzledness. I don't know what had actually happened. According to the situation that time, we should have already been undoubtedly dead. Why has nothing happened to either you or me right now? We even arrived inside a treasury like this. That's right, where did my elder brother Chu Feng go? Why isn't he here anymore? Chu Feng remembered about Chu Feng only after thinking back to the scene before. He quickly stood up and searched everywhere, but he could not find any traces of Chu Feng. From that, Chu Feng couldn't avoid being a bit worried. At that instant, Chu Feng suddenly discovered that there was a paper slip in the area where he was laying before. He picked it up to look, and there were only a few rows of simple words written on it. However, it instantly caused Chu Feng's tense heart to ease. Chu Feng is already safe, so there is no need to keep having him in your mind. As for where this place is, you will know after you go out. But I advise you that before going out, you better loot every single thing in here or else you will regret it. Who left this paper slip behind? Chu Feng was a bit shocked as he confirmed that he was saved by someone. No need to think about it, Chu Feng. If I'm not mistaken, it should be that mysterious expert in the Valley of 100 Bends who saved you. Chu Feng has already been taken away by him, and I'm sure that he was the one who brought you to this place. Eggy calmly analyzed. It was him. Chu Feng had no way of confirming, but after some detailed thinking, within the people who he knew, other than that person, there was truly no one else who could save him. Whatever, put the things in here away first, or else you would be disappointing that person's meticulous efforts, right? Chu Feng was not any righteous gentleman, and he only lived for himself and the people around him. So naturally, when such fat meat came to the side of his mouth, he would not let it go. He stood up and first walked towards one of the walls, because on that wall, the things that were densely hung on it were all Cosmos sacks. If Chu Feng wanted to collect so many treasures, Cosmos sacks were something that could not be omitted. And obviously, the Cosmos sacks over there were all prepared for Chu Feng. No sooner said than done. Chu Feng did not move the slightest bit slow, and he started to collect the treasures like how the great wind swept away the clouds. With one wave, he gathered the things he could use, and with the other, he gathered the things he could not use. At the end, he separated them into 2 big bags and threw them over his shoulder. Although there were only 2 bags, within them were all little delicate Cosmos sacks. Treasures filled every Cosmos sack, and from that, it could be imagined how many good things there were collected within Chu Feng's 2 big bags. But even so, Chu Feng did not take all the treasures away from the treasury. Of course, the things he left behind were only things that he didn't really take notice of, such as things like spiritual medicines and spiritual beads. They were not of great help towards Chu Feng, so it was fine even if they were not taken. Heh, this time, quite a bit of profit has been made. With so many profound medicines, perhaps even I can break into the profound realm. The current Chu Feng was extremely excited. The smile on his little face was even more dazzling than the sun. It was simply the first time in his life that he had seen so many profound medicines. Chu Feng successively broke through 2 levels of cultivation within the essence pool, and he was presently in the 9th level of the origin realm. He was only 1 step away from the profound realm. But Chu Feng knew that, with the nature of the several divine lightning within his Danshan, he needed to pay quite a big price in order to successfully enter the profound realm. Before, Chu Feng was in quite a difficult position because, if he used profound medicines to break into that realm, he truly required an extremely enormous amount. But with his current amount, that problem seemed to be solved. Chu Feng felt that even if he could not break into the profound realm after refining all of the profound medicines, it would absolutely not be too far off. Making a breakthrough would only be a matter of time. Let's see who provided such a grand amount of resources for me. Chu Feng prepared to leave after looting everything. He was already sure that it was a certain power's treasury, but he did not know which power it was which had such abundant resources. Although the spirit formation there was very strong, with Chu Feng's methods, it was quite easy to open as he went towards the outside from the inside. After sneaking out of the treasury, Chu Feng saw 4 familiar figures who stood in front of him with faces full of panic. They were 4 old people, and every single one of them had gray-white hair with vigorous spirits. They were part of the 12 protectors of the Lingyan School. "It's you." The 4 protectors hurriedly ran over to investigate the situation because they heard the opening sounds of the big doors to the treasury. After seeing Chu Feng, they immediately revealed faces that were even more stunned than Chu Feng's. At that instant, Chu Feng also finally reacted to what had happened. No wonder that person left the paper slip and said that Chu Feng would regret it if he didn't loot everything. He did indeed make sense. After all, this was the treasury of Chu Feng's archenemy, the Lingyan School. "You damn little brat. As you lured the tiger away from the mountain, you took the chance to rob my Lingyan School's treasury. Today, we will kill you." The bodies of the 4 old people trembled from anger, and immediately, they rushed over to start throwing fatal attacks towards Chu Feng. HMPH. However, Chu Feng only coldly snorted as he was not afraid in the slightest. With Egge's power that surged throughout his body, Chu Feng already entered the 3rd level of the profound realm, and with a thought, the blade of the void dragon's cry was used. Boom, visible pressure descended from the sky, and not only did it completely disintegrate the attacks from the 4 old people, even their bodies were instantly crushed. They already died and did not have any chances to condense their surviving consciousness. "Even old garbage like you 4 want to kill me." Chu Feng disdainfully shot a glance towards the 4 old people, then he walked outside. As he walked, Chu Feng also saw some Lingyan School elders, but since even the 4 protectors couldn't defeat Chu Feng, how could they stop him? At the end, they received the same ending as they were all killed by Chu Feng. After some little troubles, Chu Feng finally walked out of the resource treasury. At that instant, what appeared in front of his eyes was indeed the hosting grounds of the 100 School gathering back in the day, the Lingyan School. After coming out of the treasury, he did not rush to leave that area. Instead, he carefully strolled around the Lingyan School because, from the words luring the tiger to leave the mountain, he got some information out of them. He wanted to confirm to see whether the old guy Yan Yang Tian returned to the Lingyan School or not. If he didn't, then he could cause huge chaos in the Lingyan School because other than Yan Yang Tian, there was no one who could threaten or even stop the current Chu Feng within the Lingyan School. I wonder if Lord School Head and the others arrived at the Azure Dragon School now or not, and how the battle situation is. This time, pretty much all the experts of my Lingyan School were sent, and all of them rode away on top-quality white-headed eagles. Looking at the time, they should have arrived at the Azure Dragon School by now. I'm sure that the Azure Dragon School has already been stamped flat by my Lingyan School, right? HMPH. They deserved it. They are simply looking to die by daring to oppose my Lingyan School. Immediately when Chu Feng walked out, he heard 2 core disciples proudly discussing about their own school in a manner as if they were venting their anger out. Yan Yang Tian went to my Azure Dragon School. At that instant, Chu Feng's expression changed and his eyebrows tightly furrowed. He thought of a possibility that was within expectations yet unwished to happen. So, he no longer hid around. He suddenly flew out from the corner, pointed at the two core disciples in front of him and loudly said, "You two stand still. Who is making all this damn noise?" Every single one of the disciples of the Lingyun school were the masters of arrogance. They did not lower their heads as they walked. They wished they could raise their faces straight up into the sky. Especially the core disciples. They had no ends to their pride. So how could they tolerate anyone loudly yelling at them like that? So, with hearts full of fury, the two disciples suddenly spun their bodies around. Their fierce face could really scare a group of children to death. But when they faced Chu Feng, who had an evil smile on his face, they were instantly stupefied. Their eyes were widened so roundly, and they no longer had their previous bloodlust. Replacing it was never-ending fear, and as they trembled while backing away, they pointed at Chu Feng and said, You. They were so scared that they could no longer speak. The current Qilin Prince's mansion allied with Lingyun School to apprehend Chu Feng, so his portraits were already posted throughout the Lingyun School. Thus, no matter if one already saw Chu Feng before or not, everyone knew Chu Feng's appearance. In addition to the various deeds that Chu Feng did before, he already left a terrifying shadow within the young generation's hearts in the Azure province. How was it possible that they weren't afraid? They almost wet themselves. Seeing that they two of them were going to yell loudly, Chu Feng hurriedly leaped forward and arrived in front of the two in a blink. He used his hand to cover both of their mouths and evilly smiled and said, "That's right, I'm Chu Feng, but I have a question I want to ask you too. Where did you just say Yan Yang Tian went?" As the #1 school of the Azure province, no matter if it was in terms of the numbers or strength of the elders or disciples, the Lingyun school was far from being comparable by the other schools. The Lingyun school was the true overlord within so many schools. Even if the other schools worked together, they would still be unable to shake the position of the Lingyun school. That was how powerful they were. At that instant, in the core zone of the Lingyun school, within a luxurious and spacious main hall, the strongest elders from the Lingyun school's core zone and even inner court gathered along with the most excellent core disciples in the Lingyun school. With some early estimations, there were several tens of thousands of people. The leader was one of the 12 protectors. He stood on top of the tall stage, which was in the middle of the main hall, and towered above to look at his surroundings. He loudly said, "Chu Feng, the disciple from the Azure Dragon School, killed a disciple from my Lingyun school and also attempted to assassinate the Lord of the Qilin Prince's mansion. His nerves could cover the skies, and his crimes cannot be forgiven. Right now, the head of my Lingyun school is leading the elite army of my Lingyun school while working together with the Qilin Prince's mansion. They are advancing towards the Azure Dragon School to kill Chu Feng and to eliminate his accomplices. They are the evils of the Azure province. As for us, we are the core power within the current Lingyun school, and we have obligation to protect the peace of my Lingyun school. So, before Lord School Head returns, I hope that everyone here can increase alertness to prevent anyone from entering to harm my school's disciples while the school is empty. Lord Protector, don't worry. Even if the school head isn't here, my Lingyun school is still the overlord of the Azure province, and no one would dare to come here to make a mess. That's right. Even if there is someone who comes forward to cause a mess, we will kill them to the point that they'll be crapping and wetting themselves. We will let them know our strength, and will let them know that the dignity of my Lingyun school does not allow any blaspheming." At that instant, no matter if it was the Lingyun school's elders or disciples, they self-confidently loudly yelled, *bang**, but just at that time, the shut big doors to the main hall was suddenly shattered and opened. Simultaneously, a figure also rushed into the main hall like a ghost and arrived onto the tall stage. With one foot, it kicked the protector down to the ground, and he was stepped under that foot. That person was exactly Chu Feng. With the wave of his arm, boundless spirit formations sealed all the exits of the main hall, and after that, he swept his fierce gaze over all the Lingyan School's elders and disciples. He evilly smiled and said, "The overlord of the Azure province, have you been well since last time?" Chu Feng. The sudden change caused many people to be astonished, but when they saw who the person who came in was and the protector who was being stepped under his foot, they instantly became incomparably panicked. Every single one was dumbfounded from fright, and their previous confidence, their previous wild arrogance was, at that instant, no more. "Run!" Finally, someone yelled out loudly, and the current elites of the Lingyan School were like birds frightened by the sound of a bow. They started to do all they could to madly run towards the exits of the main hall, but it was useless. The exits were already sealed by Chu Feng. The spirit formation that Chu Feng laid was an impassable copper and iron wall, and every single person in that place was locked in. "Chu Feng, what are you planning to do?" At that instant, the protector who was being stepped under Chu Feng's foot was incomparably alarmed as he loudly yelled. Although the people in that place weren't the strongest people in the Lingyan School, they were still the future hope of the Lingyan School, especially the core disciples. They were the important targets of protection of the Lingyan School, because whether the school could rise greatly in power in the future depended on them. At that moment, those people were all stuck in that place, so how could that protector not be worried? After all, Chu Feng and the Lingyan School were currently like water and fire, and they did not mix. Even idiots could imagine what Chu Feng was going to do when he appeared at that place. "What I am planning to do?" As he faced the protector's questioning, Chu Feng first lightly smiled, then he suddenly stamped down and shattered the protector's head. Fresh blood sprayed and shot out over the tall stage. Following that, Chu Feng raised his head, and he swept his gaze of killing intent towards the densely packed figures in the main hall, and coldly said, "Yan Yang Tian is currently leading the army of the Lingyan School to destroy my Azure Dragon School's 1,000 years of foundation. However, what I only want to do in this period of time is to return a present to him. Asterisk boom 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 tilde 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 asterisk the Azure Dragon Mountain Range within the Azure Dragon School. The flames of battle never ended, and booms rang out everywhere. Within the circumference of 100 miles, both birds and beasts were frightened. Outside of the Azure Dragon Mountain Range, one could also clearly see the rolling thick smoke that rose to the sky, and they could feel the slight trembling of the earth under their feet, as if there was an earthquake. That situation shocked the powers and citizens around the Azure Dragon School, no matter if it were cultivators or commoners, as they looked at the distant ancient mountain range that was enveloped by fumes. They kept on, sighing, "Ah, the school that has been erected for 1,000 years gets destroyed in such a way. In the future, it seems like my children and grandchildren will need to rely on other schools for cultivation. This is a matter that couldn't be helped. Who told the Azure Dragon School to offend the Lingyan School right? They must pay for their crimes, so we can only hope that the flames of this battle will not also affect us innocent people." At that instant, people's faces hung different emotions. Some felt pity, some felt regret, some felt worried that the battle would also affect themselves. But the thing that had to be admitted was that in the future, there would no longer be an Azure Dragon School in the Azure Dragon Mountain Range. If the young people in that piece of land wanted to do martial cultivation, they could only walk a longer road to go towards other schools. To them, it was truly a huge loss. At that instant, within the Azure Dragon School, the people from the Lingyan School and Qilin Prince's mansion were destroying everything in the Azure Dragon School as they wished, because almost everyone in the Azure Dragon School left. The ones who remained were only people who did dishonest activities. So the Azure Dragon School was like an empty city. Where were there any intentions of a battle of life and death? He was simply playing around with them, and they were tricked. So, no matter if it was the people from the Lingyan School or the people from the Qilin Prince's mansion, they were extremely furious. Only wild destruction could vent the anger out in their current hearts, especially Lin Moli, whose son got killed by Chu Feng. It was as if he went into a rage, and with the strength of the heaven realm, He went around the Azure Dragon School's core zone and caused chaos by himself. The gorgeous structures were no longer the same after he threw attacks at them, but he was still ravaging. We were tricked. We were tricked by that brat Chu Feng. At the start, he never planned to fight against us with his life, yet we believed him. Heh! Xianxia stood in the air while looking at the people who were devastating with everything they had. However, a bitter smile was hung on the corners of his mouth, and his face was abnormally gloomy. He wasn't so gloomy because he was tricked. It was because today, a huge root of disaster was buried, a hidden disease that was impossible to heal. That was why he was so gloomy. He knew that Chu Feng was still going to return, but when Chu Feng reappeared in front of his face, the one who would die would certainly be himself. Suddenly, Yan Yang Tian insanely howled. The ear-piercing sound shook the air until it was trembling, and even the Lingyun school disciples and the Qilin prince's mansion guards found it hard to endure it. They couldn't help but cover their ears and painfully rolled on the ground. Only after a long while did he stop howling. However, the current him was like Lin Moli. His face was filled with fury. Then his entire person was like an arrow which left the bow as he shot into the Azure Dragon School and started to unrestrainedly destroy everything in the Azure Dragon School to calm his uneasy emotions. At the same time, within the main hall of the Lingyun School, corpses stacked up to form mountains, and the blood flowed to form rivers. Chu Feng was still sitting on top of tall stage. Not a single drop of blood stained his robe, and as he sat on top of the protector's body, he smiled while looking at everything. Below, Chu Feng personally killed several tens of thousands of people. Some were old, some were middle-aged, and some were people who were around the same generation as Chu Feng. All of them had extreme good martial cultivating talent, and they were the elites who had very strong potential. But currently, they all died by Chu Feng's hands. But Chu Feng's face did not change in the slightest because of their death. This was a matter of position. It had no relation to morality, only grudges. On the battlefield, a soldier that had mercy towards the enemy was not a good soldier. Chu Feng wasn't a soldier, but in this place, it was his battlefield. The people from the Lingyun School were Chu Feng's enemy. So Chu Feng would not have mercy towards his enemies. He would not have the tiniest bit of self-blame by killing them, because in Chu Feng's heart, his enemies deserved to die. Suddenly, with a thought from Chu Feng, large amounts of spirit formation power started to surge out of his body. Following Chu Feng's command, more large amounts of strange symbols were condensed out. With special patterns, they started to wander around in the ocean of corpses. It was a huge spirit formation, with lightning-fast methods, and after laying another spirit formation, Chu Feng removed the spirit formation that sealed the main hall, leaped down from the tall stage, gradually walked towards the outside of the hall and lightly said, "Even though we were enemies this time, I'll give all of you a dignified funeral." Just as Chu Feng walked out of the main hall, the spirit formation started to activate. Flames that rose to the skies surged out from the formation, and it quickly lit the corpses up and ignited the entire palace. "Look, the main hall is on fire. What happened? This isn't good. Quickly go fight the fire." Seeing that the most sacred palace was being burnt by raging flames, many elders and disciples of the Lingyun School instantly panicked. They hurriedly ran towards the main hall, and they even rang the big bell as they wanted to fight the fire. However, they did not know that a demon with thick bloodlust was grasping a formless death god's sickle as he awaited for their approach. This time, Chu Feng truly prepared for a widespread slaughtering. The Lingyun School was extremely big, and the abilities of Chu Feng himself were limited. So Chu Feng set his target all onto the Lingyun School's core disciples and core elders. The ones he wanted to kill were the elites of the Lingyun School. But even so, Chu Feng could not completely kill them all. Since he could not kill them all, Chu Feng chose destruction. He started to destroy the most sacred, most important place in the Lingyun School. He wrecked the luxurious and dazzling palaces, burnt mysterious techniques and martial skills, and after the time of a full day and night, he turned the Lingyun school upside down. Then he swaggeringly left whenever he felt like it. Then after 2 more days, several hundred huge white-headed eagles from the east of the Lingyun school appeared. They were the elites of the Lingyun school, and after they were led by Yan Yongtian and flattened the Azure Dragon School, they were returning back victoriously. At that instant, Yan Yongtian was not flying. By himself, he sat on the white-headed eagle in the front. He did not speak anything while he had his eyes closed for resting. No one knew what he was thinking about. On the other hand, the elders and disciples all had pleased faces, and they started to announce their achievements. But it has to be said that this Azure Dragon School is rather large. One would really not think that it was a second-rate school before. HMPH, so what if it's big? Was it still not flattened by us without leaving a single strand of fur behind? That's right, those who offend my Lingyun school in the Azure province will only end up like this. That Chu Feng so impudent. But this time, didn't he just run away with his tail between his legs? I couldn't even see his shadow. Several young core disciples were proudly bragging. As for the elders, although they weren't as open as the disciples, after hearing them talk about that, their faces also brimmed with smiles of pride. It was because, after that matter were to spread out, at least it would stabilize the Lingyun school's position of being the overlord of the Azure province, and it would let everyone know what result one would get if they were to oppose the Lingyun school. Look, what's that? But just at that time, a disciple with sharp eyes suddenly stood up. He pointed at the direction of the Lingyun school and extremely anxiously yelled, "What are you making such a big fuss of? Heavens!" This, when others saw it as well and reacted to it, their faces similarly changed greatly, and they were incomparably shocked as they appeared abnormally terrified. After Yan Yongtian opened his eyes, even his pupils abruptly shrunk. On his originally calm demeanor, uneasiness surged. Without saying anything, he rose into the air, and after leaving the white-headed eagle, he quickly flew towards the Lingyun school. At the same time, other people steered the white-headed eagle underneath them with all they had, and hurried towards the Lingyun school with their fastest speed. At that very instant, their hearts were filled with uneasiness. Although they had not seen everything clearly yet, they already knew that the Lingyun school they were so proud of was attacked by someone. Heavens! This! Why did this happen? Who did this? When Yan Yongtian and the strongest elites of the Lingyun school returned and saw the current state of the Lingyun school, their faces turned pale white one after the other, and fury and sorrow was within their eyes. Although the current Lingyun school was not flattened, but saying that it could no longer be recognized was reasonable, especially the core zone, the place that was the most luxurious and was the most invested towards, already got destroyed into a complete mess. The corpse of core disciples and core elders scattered everywhere, and every single person was in such a wretched state that one could not bear looking at them. Martial skills building, cultivation building, all of them were ravaged. All of the martial skills were burnt into nothing, and cultivation resources were destroyed. Despite there were very few people who died or were injured within the inner court disciples and elders, they were still not lightly frightened. Many people escaped the Lingyun school, and they were deeply afraid of being dragged down by it. The ones who remained were currently urgently saving and healing, as they were led by the elders. Quick, go rescue, go rescue. After being at a loss for quite a while, Yan Yongtian slowly came to his senses and loudly yelled. And from then on, the elites on top of the white-headed eagles quickly rushed down and started to help the people that hadn't died yet. However, when he was ordering others to rescue, Yan Yongtian gradually descended from the sky. He went over an area of ruined land. He did not say a single thing, and he sank into silence. Lord School Head, this isn't good. Over half of my school's elite disciples and elders have died, and even the resource treasury has been looted completely with nothing left behind. Several protectors ran over with faces full of panic, and even they could not remain calm, because this time, The Lingyun School's losses were really too big. The outstanding disciples and elders that had been developed for many years were almost completely slaughtered. Even the resource treasury that had been accumulating for many years was looted completely, and the excellent quality martial skills were burnt as well. The Lingyun School, the grand, #1 school of the Azure province, was made into that state by someone, putting aside that today's losses were heavy, causing their vitality to be greatly harmed. If this matter were to be spread out, the Lingyun School would become the laughing stock of the Azure province. Who was it? Whose deed was this? I must strip his skin and extract his tendons. Yan Yongtian suddenly furiously howled. His voice spread past 100 miles and everyone could feel his anger. Lord School Head, I know who did it. I know who did it. Suddenly, several core disciples ran over with panic across their faces. They were even propping a person up. It was a rather well-known elder in the core zone. But currently, that elder had heavy injuries all over his body, cultivation that could not be kept, and he was also on the border of life and death. However, he was still conscious. Elder Liu, who was the one that actually did this. At that instant, before letting Yan Yongtian speak, the several protectors could not wait any longer as they went up to closely ask. It was Chu Feng. Elder Liu spoke Chu Feng's name with an extremely feeble tone. What? Chu Feng, it was actually him. After hearing that name, not a single person's complexion on scene did not change greatly. Following that, another protector quickly asked again, other than Chu Feng, who else? Was it Chi Fengyang? Was Chi Fengyang also there? No, there was no one else, only Chu Feng. All of you run. He is simply the devil, the most terrifying person that I had ever seen. He will still return, and at that time no one will be able to run. After speaking those words, Elder Lia's head tilted to the side and his body fell onto the ground. Thoroughly, he no longer breathed, and he was already dead. Asterisk tatata. Asterisk at that instant, the people on scene all took several steps back, and they were so shocked that they could no longer stand stably. The legs of two of the protectors went soft, and with a poof, they sat limply on the ground. On their faces, indescribable colors of terror surged as they were appalled. Only after a while did those people recover from such shocking news. Everyone cast their gazes towards Yan Yongtian, the head of the Lingyun School, the backbone in their hearts. Without removing a great enemy, there will be endless future troubles. I, Yan Yongtian, have committed a grave mistake, and it would be that I shouldn't have offended Chu Feng. My Lingyun School is destroyed by my hands. I, Yan Yongtian, am finished. I personally sent this life's future to the grave. However, just at that moment, Yan Yongtian had an ash-like face as he muttered to himself with a bitter smile, and he started to slowly walk towards the outside of the Lingyun School. School head, what are you doing? Seeing that, everyone was frightened because they could see that the present Yan Yongtian's mental state was slightly unstable, but he was the head of the Lingyun School, their backbone. If something were to happen to him at this time, who else could take control of the situation? What should they do? Who was going to fix their current broken circumstances? But Yan Yongtian did not even care about the increasing number of elders and disciples following behind him. He only kept on walking west. Only after walking out of the Lingyun School did he suddenly stop his steps to speak to the people behind him. Everyone, leave. Cut off your relationship with the Lingyun School, or else he will still come back. At that time, no one will be able to stop him. No one will be able to return alive. The Lingyun School will also completely go extinct, and even your family will be affected by it. After saying those words, Yan Yongtian leaped, rose into the sky, and flew towards the western horizon. No matter how the protectors, elders, and disciples of the Lingyun School yelled, he did not even turn his head around. Today's matter very quickly spread throughout the Azure province and became the most shocking news of the province. The Lingyun School was destroyed by a young man. That young man was the person who killed Dugu Oyun, and gained the title of being the strongest school head in the 100-school gathering. He was also the person who saved Chu Feng by himself from the sentencing grounds of the Qilin prince's mansion. Chu Feng. Relying on his own power, Chu Feng destroyed the #1 school in the Azure province, killed countless elite disciples and elders, and shook the foundation of several hundred years. News regarding the head of the Lingyun school, xianxia, was even all lost at that time. The #1 school of the Azure province was immediately like a group of dragons without a leader, and they went into complete chaos. Many disciples and elders started to leave the Lingyun school to rely on other schools. They even said to outsiders that they were instructions left by the school head, xianxia, before he departed. If they didn't cut off their relationship with the Lingyun school, sooner or later, they would be met with the disaster of school extermination. That matter was too shocking. However, to other schools, it was undoubtedly a good thing. The Overlord-level school's foundation was destroyed, and the Heaven Realm school head abandoned his own school and escaped. It gave other first-rate schools a rare chance, even though there were some people who chose to remain behind in the Lingyun school. After all, there were quite a large number of people who left, and since their cultivation resources were destroyed, it was absolutely impossible for the Lingyun school to rise again from the East Mountains. To the many Azure Province's schools, it meant that they were welcoming a new era, an era to fight over the position of being the #1 school. But no one would forget that the person who created this era was a young man called Chu Feng, and the person who also destroyed the Lingyun school was also a young man called Chu Feng. Only because it offended the young man called Chu Feng, the Lingyun school, the #1 school in the Azure province that had been erected for several hundred years, walked towards the path of extinction with extremely quick speed. The so-called, for the matters of the world, if there are people who are happy, there are people who are sad. The news of Chu Feng destroying the Lingyun school caused all other schools to be incomparably joyful. But as the real overlord of the Azure province, the Qilin prince's mansion, who also offended Chu Feng, sank into unprecedented terror. "Mansion Lord, what should we do? Xianxia has already escaped, and look at us." In the broadest hall within the Qilin prince's mansion, Lin Moli sat on the head seat, and all the experts who had fame, strength within the prince's mansion were all in there. However, the current them no longer had their arrogance of being high up on top. Every single one revealed fearful faces, and they were extremely uneasy. They were all terrified by the matter of the Lingyun school. They were terrified by Chu Feng's actions. They were deeply afraid that after the Lingyun school, their Qilin prince's mansion would come next, that they were included within the next wave of people being slaughtered. What is there to be afraid of? Don't forget, we are the Qilin prince's mansion, and we have the Jiang dynasty behind us. No matter how much nerves Chu Feng has, he will not dare to do anything against my Qilin prince's mansion unless he doesn't want to continue in the continent of the 9 provinces. Lin Moli suddenly stood up, and his powerful palm abruptly dropped. He shattered the chair underneath his body as he angrily roared, causing the entire hall to tremble. It still had to be said that after hearing his roar, everyone in the hall quieted down, and their panicked expressions also calmed a bit. After that, Lin Moli spoke a lot more to the crowd, such as already reporting Chu Feng's matter to the Jiang dynasty, that they would prepare to help the Qilin prince's mansion catch Chu Feng, that Chu Feng could no longer protect himself, that it would be impossible for him to rise from the East Mountains, that he would sooner or later get killed, etc. Those words successfully comforted the shaken hearts of the Qilin prince's mansion experts. But the experts did not see Lin Moli's full face of terror and extreme uneasiness in the instant he turned around. As Chu Feng's achievements were being noisily spread, and as the outside world was being flipped upside down, underneath the Azure Dragon Mountain range, there was this section of untainted land. Li Zhongqing and the Azure Dragon elites, Chu Iwei and the Chu family, as well as Su Rou, Su Mei, and the 2 others were living quite well within the 1,000-bone graveyard. After Chu Feng told everyone about the matter of him taking Chu Feng away and destroying the Lingyun school with the assistance of a mysterious expert, everyone in that place was extremely happy. Chu Feng, you boy, you are too outstanding. You have actually brought back so many treasures. But it's just that these things are too precious, and I would feel quite bad if I were to take them. Li Jiangqing looked at the rare treasures in front of his eyes, and he had smiles all over his face from excitement. His old wrinkles pleated together, and he looked just like a meat-filled steamed bun. It was because there were many good things placed in front of his face. Large amounts of origin medicine, special weapons, and also protective equipment. All of them were taken from the Lingyun School's resource treasury, and currently he gave them all to Li Jiangqing for free. School head. Since I, Chu Feng, caused the Azure Dragon School to be flattened, and 1,000 years of foundation to be destroyed in a single moment, I truly feel endless shame in my heart, so if you take these, I will feel a bit better. Chu Feng said with an apologetic face. Ah, you idiot boy, what they destroyed was only an empty frame. My Azure Dragon School's foundation has all been moved to this place. These are the roots for re-establishing my Azure Dragon School. Li Jiangqing cast his gaze towards a nearby place. There was a simple shelf over there, but all sorts of martial skills and mysterious techniques were neatly placed on that shelf. There was also the Azure Dragon School's resource register. These things were truly what a school needed to establish itself. But Chu Feng still felt rather bad. There are no buts. These are just worldly materials, and they are just the foundations for the rise of my Azure Dragon School. The ones over there are the true necessities for the rise of my Azure Dragon School. Li Jiangqing then looked towards the direction of the essence pool. Ever since entering this place, all the young generation disciples of the Azure Dragon School, as well as the elders, started to cultivate as they were in the pool, gaining great benefits. After that, Li Jiangqing patted Chu Feng's shoulders and said, "And you are the hope who will lead them and strengthen my Azure Dragon School." Lord School Head, don't worry. From today on, I, Chu Feng, will build an even grander Azure Dragon School on the Azure Dragon Mountain Range. At that time, not only will my Azure Dragon School be the overlord of the Azure Province, it will also have its part in the continent of the 9 provinces. After hearing Li Jiangqing's words, Chu Feng's knot in his heart was undone, and he solemnly vowed to guarantee. The reason why Chu Feng did not directly leave, but rather return to this place again after destroying the Lingyun School was, first, to let everyone who worried about him know that he, Chu Feng, was fine, and also that the Lingyun School received a rare heavy blow and paid the price that should have paid. Second, after experiencing the pursuit by Yan Yang Tian and Lin Moli, Chu Feng was deeply aware that how weak he was in front of the heaven realm. So, Chu Feng wanted to learn the dragon traveling through 9 heavens that the Azure Dragon founder passed down to him. That martial skill was very profound, and if Chu Feng were to completely grasp it, even if he could not reach the powerful speed of Ege's demonic wings of that day in front of heaven realm experts, he could at least have some chances to escape. After all, where Chu Feng was heading towards was a completely unknown land. Chu Feng could not hope that kind-hearted people would help him if he met danger. So, Chu Feng could only rely on himself. He had to guarantee that he had a certain life-saving method before departing. Using an entire day, Chu Feng refined all the profound medicines that he got from the Lingyun School. It caused change to happen from Chu Feng's dantian, which was silent for a long time. But at the end, Chu Feng was still unable to break into the profound realm. But Chu Feng was not discouraged. It was not far from what he had predicted. And although he was unable to break through, Chu Feng could still feel that it was not far off. If he got a few more high-quality, profound medicine, he should be able to make a breakthrough. At that instant, Chu Feng was in a place deeper in than the essence pool. That place was quieter, and it was the best place for him to cultivate. He closed his eyes and from that, used his mind to control the origin power within his body. A layer of azure-colored gas visible by the naked eye was currently lingering around Chu Feng. They surged out from Chu Feng's body, then interweave and fuse together. More and more gathered, and gradually it formed fog that was azure-colored. The fog surged underneath Chu Feng's feet and slowly lifted him up from the ground. He floated in midair, and he continued floating higher. But the thing that was most mysterious was that, as the azure-colored fog carried Chu Feng and floated up, it was actually changing and becoming a snake-like, dragon-like form. One could even feel the aura of life from it. Asterisk whoosh asterisk, but suddenly the fog disappeared like smoke and clouds, and Chu Feng also fell down from midair. Damn it, this dragon traveling through 9 heavens is rather hard. Chu Feng's face was very ugly because the difficulty of control over the dragon traveling through 9 heavens surpassed his imagination. Even if it was him, he could not quickly grasp it. Right now, he did not even reach the simplest first stage. Asterisk clap clap asterisk, but just that time, bursts of loud and clear applause rang out behind Chu Feng. Ancestor. Turning his head around to look, Chu Feng discovered that it was the Azure Dragon founder. As he clapped, he walked towards him, and there was even a smile of admiration hung on his face. Radiance shot in all directions from the Azure Dragon founder's body, and he was completely different than normal consciousnesses. It was as if he was still truly living with extremely horrifying power hidden within his body. Impressive. My dragon traveling through 9 heavens was originally a martial skill with heaven power based as the root, so normally, only people in the heaven realm should be able to learn it. Although I hypothesized that if one's spirit power was extremely strong, they could specially concentrate, control, and even use their profound power, but I never would have thought that you would be to reach that stage, while only being in the origin realm with only origin power. Pregnant in your body, the Azure Dragon School's face was filled with praise. Ancestor, does the current me really have no way of cultivating this dragon, traveling through 9 heavens? I am able to feel that this is an extremely strong bodily martial skill, and I really want to grasp it. Chu Feng said. Ho, of course it's a very strong bodily martial skill. It's a martial skill that I gave fruit to from a secret skill. Its original form is a secret skill. The Azure Dragon founder lightly smiled, and following that, his body quickly floated up. Underneath his illusionary feet, boundless azure-colored gas had actually been condensed out. The gas surged more and more, and at the end, it was condensed into the appearance of a huge dragon. That huge dragon was a dozen meters or so long, although it was shaped by the condensation of gas, so its eyes were empty without light. Its body emanated a type of strong vitality as if it originally had a spirit. A single claw could cut open a mountain peak, and a roar could shake 10,000 creatures. But that wasn't really much. He then saw the Azure Dragon founder stand on the head of the huge dragon, with both of his hands behind his back. His robe fluttered as though he was the master of the huge dragon, and suddenly, he pointed towards the distance and loudly yelled, "Go!" Asterisk roar asterisk. The huge dragon instantly angrily howled, and following that, its huge claws slashed through the air. The might of the dragon swayed to cause wind. Then it became a row of light, and it had actually disappeared with a blink. Heavens, what a fast speed! At that instant, even Chu Feng was stupefied, because at that moment, he could not feel the slightest bit of the Azure Dragon founder's aura, but deep in the Emperor Tomb, Chu Feng could still hear the roar of the huge dragon. It meant that the speed of the Azure Dragon founder was already fast to the extreme, and even Chu Feng's naked eye could not pick it up. Wah! Another angrily roar caused a wave of wild wind to be lifted. That wind was strong, and even Chu Feng found it difficult to stand still as he was blown by it, and he couldn't help but back away. And at that moment, the huge dragon reappeared in front of Chu Feng's face, while the Azure Dragon founder was still standing on the head of the huge dragon as he smiled and looked at Chu Feng. Asterisk asterisk. The Azure Dragon founder waved his sleeve, and the huge dragon turned into a lump of gas, and it was absorbed into the Azure Dragon founder's body. But he slightly helplessly shook his head, sighed, and said, "Ah, without my original body, it is impossible for me to display the power of this martial skill. It is only 1/10 of how it was when I was alive." What? Such strong might is actually only 1/10 from when he was alive. Then when the ancestor was living, how strong was he? Chu Feng widened his mouth from shock, and following that he fiercely gulped. He was truly stunned by the strong methods of the Azure Dragon founder. That was a real expert, worthy of being the #1 person in the continent of the 9 provinces back then. "Chu Feng, I just showed the dragon traveling through 9 heavens to you. How was the feeling?" The Azure Dragon founder smiled and asked. "Impressive. It is really impressive. It is the most profound martial skill that I had ever seen." Chu Feng had admiration across his face. He admired the Azure Dragon founder's strength, and he also admired how he used the dragon traveling through 9 heavens so naturally. "Ho, I said it before, but this is only a copy of a secret skill. If I was still living, I would have displayed that secret skill for you to see, and then you would have known what true impressiveness would be. But regretfully, the secret skill is in my corpse and it has been sealed. Only after you revive me can I pass it down to you. Before that, it is best for you to train well with this copy," the Azure Dragon founder said. "But you said that this dragon traveling through 9 heavens requires at least heaven power in order to use it. What should I do?" Chu Feng asked while requesting for a solution. "Of course there's a way, like I just said. Your spirit power is extremely strong, and the quality of the origin power in your body is high as well. The two combine into one, and it can cause your origin power to become strong, perhaps even stronger than the profound power of normal profound realm cultivators. That is also why your battle power is so exceptional. Right now, I have a training method that trains you on how to concentrate to gain more control over your origin power. As long as you can completely grasp your origin power, it won't be any problem for you to grasp the early step of the dragon traveling through 9 heavens," the Azure Dragon founder said. "Then what should I do?" After hearing his words, Chu Feng started to get impatient because he truly wanted to grasp the profound dragon traveling through 9 heavens. "Follow me." The Azure Dragon founder indifferently smiled, turned around, and walked deeper into the Emperor tomb. Seeing that, Chu Feng also followed. Actually, he was very excited at that moment because within the Emperor tomb, the Azure Dragon founder made a boundary for their range of movement. He did not permit them to step out of the boundary, and Chu Feng, who always had his mind on the treasures of the Emperor tomb, was naturally very curious as for what things were outside of the boundary. Currently, the Azure Dragon founder was actually personally leading Chu Feng to pass that boundary. So obviously, Chu Feng was very excited because it meant that there was certainly something outside of the boundary. "Chu Feng, the reason why they call this the 1,000-bone graveyard is because they don't know anything. But I'm sure that more or less you understand, and you should have already been aware that this is a huge tomb. It is the grave of an absolute expert, and where we are right now is only the entrance to the tomb. Tombs are based on ranks according to the size of the system, as well as the danger factors within. Based on my personal experience, this tomb is of an Emperor tomb level," the Azure Dragon founder said. "Emperor tomb." Despite already knowing that it was an Emperor tomb before, after the Azure Dragon founder gave his confirmation, Chu Feng still felt a bit shocked. If even the Azure Dragon founder who was strong got forced to his current state, it could be seen how terrifying the Emperor tomb was. To be honest, there were truly a lot of people who entered this place back in that year. Pretty much all the peak experts on the continent of that era were gathered, but sadly, no one returned alive. If I didn't get that magical pearl in reality, even if I became a broken spirit, I would have already been dissipated, not to mention being able to keep my current strength. But Chu Feng, actually, we discovered 3 magical pearls that year. Suddenly, the Azure Dragon founder smiled and spoke. 3, where are the other 2? Chu Feng felt shocked. If one pearl was already so magical, how would the other 2 be? but he was more curious as for why there were two. Yet such a capable person such as the Azure Dragon founder did not take them. Was it possible that he could not have taken them? Or were there other reasons? At that instant, Chu Feng was truly curious to the extreme. As for the Azure Dragon founder, he also stirred up some suspense this time. He chuckled, then said to Chu Feng, "No need to rush. You will see the two other pearls very soon." Chu Feng did not ask any more after hearing that. He only followed the steps of the Azure Dragon founder and walked deeper in. At the end, in front of Chu Feng, a huge cave world appeared. It was so vast that one could not see the borders, and it was even vaster than the cave world underneath the Black Tortoise Mountain range. But at that very instant, the thing that attracted Chu Feng's eyeballs the most was not the vast underground world. It was the huge and bizarre lake within the underground world. The reason why the lake was said to be bizarre was because on one half, it was ice. The ice was thick, as though it froze straight to the deepest parts of the lake, and it emitted extremely bone-piercing chilliness. As for the other half of the lake, flames rose to the sky. A large area of fire snakes rolled and raged, while making ear-piercing and fierce howls. It created a sharp contrast with the ice from the other side. Truly, ice and fire existed together, and the fusion of ice and fire was happening right in front of his eyes. Half of the vast lake was ice, half were flames. Such a strange scene was shown in front of Chu Feng's face at that instant. Why is there a lake like this here? Chu Feng was dumbfounded from shock because that scene did not make sense at all. This scene is being caused by the two horrifying pearls. On that year, the two pearls killed no few of us. Even I was heavily injured by them, and at the end, I became my current state. The Azure Dragon founder explained. It was actually that strong. Chu Feng couldn't help but take in a breath of cool air. If even the Azure Dragon founder died because of the two pearls, then how fierce would the two pearls be? Of course they were strong. At first, when we saw the three pearls after we charged through layers of obstructions and killed several evil spirits, we even thought that we got the treasures, but we never would have thought that it was a calamity of slaughtering. However, luckily the ice pearl and the fire pearl seemed to have a link with the pearl that was in my hand. So even though their power was very strong, after a short while, they still lost their terrifying power and fell into the lake, transforming and causing the current appearance. To be more precise, the two pearls have already died, but their remains are still here. They also have a certain level of threat, as they also have special powers. And the place that I want you to cultivate in is here. Although they have already died, some of their special power still survives. In this place, both cold air and hot air exist together, and they will disturb your spirit power. However, it is beneficial towards strengthening your ability to control spirit power. As long as you can control your spirit power on command on this ice and fire lake, there shouldn't be any problems for you to use the dragon traveling through 9 heavens. Okay, start the training. As the Azure Dragon founder spoke, he turned and left. He did not seem to plan to personally give pointers to Chu Feng, but after walking for a short distance, he said to Chu Feng, "Chu Feng, this is the final boundary. Do not go deeper. In that place there exists some things that even I cannot defeat right now." After saying those words, the Azure Dragon founder floated away and left, and Chu Feng, who had extremely strong curiosity, intentionally circled around the ice and fire lake after the Azure Dragon founder left to check out what was behind the lake. Then he finally knew why Chu Feng was not permitted to continue going forward, because behind the ice and fire lake, anti-demon symbols already started to appear. The area of the symbols was extremely vast, and one could not see the end as they looked. That more or less meant that deeper in, there was a very strong evil spirit or many evil spirits. The Emperor Tomb is truly too far out of my reach. Right now, I should still focus on cultivating my dragon traveling through 9 heavens. In front of the Emperor Tomb, Chu Feng always felt that he was especially tiny, even more so after hearing the words of the Black Tortoise armor technique, meeting with the Azure Dragon founder, and personally seeing the transformed bizarre lake caused by the two pearls in the Emperor tomb. He more and more understood how weak and small he was, and how petty his own power was. However, Chu Feng was not discouraged. After all, he was still currently too young. As long as he was willing to work hard and willing to create chances, becoming strong was only a matter of time. So, Chu Feng started to go towards the strange ice and fire lake. This thing is truly odd. Before even getting near, Chu Feng felt two waves of strange aura pouncing towards him. One was bone-piercing chilliness, one was scorching hot heat. The two gases that should not be existing together was actually oddly blending into one. But luckily, Chu Feng was able to resist against that strange gas. Finally, Chu Feng arrived on top of the lake. Although Chu Feng's physical body was able to hold the strange gases away, his spirit power was disturbed by the gases, and it became difficult to control. It was like how the Azure Dragon founder said. Chu Feng was truly affected by the strange energy there. And as a Grey Cloak World spiritist, he who originally had extremely strong spirit power was actually unable to concentrate on his spirit power. But that was the training that the Azure Dragon founder wanted Chu Feng to do, to be able to control his spirit power on top of the ice and fire lake. If he succeeded, Chu Feng's control over his spirit power would be increased to another stage, and he would also have a chance to use the dragon traveling through 9 heavens. Like that, from that day forth, Chu Feng would come on top of the ice and fire lake every day for training, and that training lasted for a month. It could also be said that it was the martial skill Chu Feng spent the most time on for cultivation. But luckily, Chu Feng did not waste that time of 1 month. From the beginning, he was unable to condense his spirit power, but gradually, he was able to easily control it. Currently, Chu Feng could freely control his own spirit power as he was on top of the ice and fire lake. Succeeded. I've finally succeeded. Now I can finally control my spirit power in whatever way I wish it to. The present Chu Feng was standing in the middle area of the ice and fire lake. One side was bone-piercing cold, one side were raging flames. Chu Feng surrounded himself with origin power and formed an invisible shield to prevent his body from corroding from the cold and flames. Suddenly, with a thought, Chu Feng's spirit power was like the tide as it spread out from his brain and probed towards the ice and fire lake underneath him. After successfully grasping his control over his spirit power, he did not rush to cultivate the profound martial skill, the dragon traveling through 9 heavens. He wanted to detailedly feel the ice and fire lake transformed by the 2 horrifying pearls. Chu Feng's spirit power penetrated through the flames, penetrated through the ice layer, and it went straight into the deep areas. The deeper he went, Chu Feng could more strongly feel that the bone-piercing chilliness and the horrifying heat was becoming more and more powerful. Crap! Suddenly, Chu Feng's eyes suddenly widened and his entire body couldn't help but tremble once. Within his eyes, unprecedented terror and uneasiness surged. When his spirit power reached the deepest part of the lake, he felt 2 forms of life. Those lives seemed to be deeply sleeping for 1,000 years, but because of his spirit power, they suddenly awakened. Boom! Just at that time, a huge explosion rang out from under Chu Feng's feet. At the same time, a wave of strong power rose into the sky. The strong power brought Chu Feng straight into the air, and simultaneously, around Chu Feng, there lingered chunks of ice that filled the air as well as surging flames. The ice and fire lake that had been sealed for 1,000 years was revived. Damn it, I seem to have done something that cannot be reversed. At that instant, without thinking much, Chu Feng already knew what happened. Obviously, the 2 horrifying pearls from that year did not die. They only slept at the bottom of the lake, and without any intentions of doing so, Chu Feng awoke them. Thinking that so many experts died by the 2 pearls, and even the Azure Dragon founder was killed by them, Chu Feng did not need to think much. He quickly adjusted his body in midair and used the Imperial Sky technique as he quickly ran towards the direction of the Azure Dragon founder. Asterisk boom asterisk. But before flying away for not too long, another explosion rang out behind him. At the same time, a wave of extreme cold and a wave of scathing heat, the two auras, also flew out from the lake together. Turning his head to look, Chu Feng's pupils abruptly shrunk and fear surged on his face because he could clearly see that a blue-colored pearl and a red-colored pearl were like the eyes of two devils as they flew towards him with unbelievable speed. Chu Feng, quick, let me control your body, or else with your current speed, it will be impossible to escape their pursuit. Eggy started to yell as she saw that the situation was not going well. No, it's too late. But Chu Feng's face was like ash because he could clearly see that the two horrifying pearls, almost with a blink, appeared in front of him. Even if it was Eggy, there was no way to get rid of them with speed like that. Asterisk boom asterisk. Just at that time, the two pearls already collided against Chu Feng's body. The strong power directly threw Chu Feng straight to the ground from midair and caused a deep pit to be created on the ground that was even made of special materials. Damn it, these two things actually want to enter my body. The two pearls truly had life. Clearly, the round-shaped pearls that were only as big as a chicken egg were currently like sharp blades as they pierced through Chu Feng's origin power shield and entered Chu Feng's physical body. At that instant, they were flying towards Chu Feng's dantian. At that moment, Chu Feng could distinctly feel two bursts of power wanting to occupy his body and take away his awareness. It wasn't like Eggy's, and it was obviously from the two horrifying pearls. The two pearls did not simply want to kill Chu Feng, they wanted to control Chu Feng. The two pearls were too horrifying. One contained chilliness that could freeze everything, the other contained flames that could burn everything. And they even had life. However, it was unclear as for what they were. They were like two monsters who were abnormally strong yet had unknown identities. In front of them, Chu Feng was extremely minuscule. He didn't even have any chance to fight back, and he could do nothing as they invaded his own dantian, the sacred land that condensed his cultivation. Wah! But suddenly, within Chu Feng's dantian, the unmoving 8 huge lightning beasts that occupied that place were as though they reawakened. They emanated terrifying aura that did not belong to this land, and they started to powerfully envelop them within his dantian. Asterisk jijiji asterisk. After the aura started enveloping, the two pearls that almost invaded Chu Feng's dantian acted as if they were frightened as they quickly ran out from his dantian. However, despite leaving the dantian, they did not leave Chu Feng's body. The chilliness and heat interweaved and engulfed every single part of Chu Feng's body. At that instant, Chu Feng felt that the blood in his entire body was boiling, as if the golden-colored lightning in his blood was also resisting against the power of the two pearls. However, as the two waves of power were being resisted against, Chu Feng was going through huge agony. The pain that Chu Feng felt was like a heart-tearing or lung-splitting. As he rolled around on the floor, he kept on throwing his own body against the ground, causing huge pits to be formed as he was loudly howling. "Chu Feng, what is happening to you?" Just at that time, two beautiful figures ran over from afar. It was the sisters Su Ro and Su Mei. The flower-like sisters held a dish of food in their hands. Ever since Chu Feng started to cultivate in this location, the pair of sisters would come here every day to give delicious dishes to Chu Feng. However, at that very instant, when they saw Chu Feng who was like that, their faces paled from fright as they threw the dishes in, their hands onto the ground and started to, without any care of their own safety, run towards Chu Feng. "Little Ru, little Mei, don't come over, run." Seeing that, Chu Feng quickly yelled at the two people. Although he did not know why the two pearls wanted to take over his body, he knew that the two pearls must have their own reasons. Currently, seeing that they failed in taking over his body, the pearls would certainly want to take over another person's body. This time, as Su Ro and Su Mei approached, they were simply like searching for their own path of death. Asterisk whoosh whoosh asterisk indeed. After hearing Su Ro and Su Mei's voice, the two ice and fire pearls had actually flew out of Chu Feng's body. and rushed toward Su Ro and Su Mei. Their speed was quick, and with two streaks of red and blue through the air, Su Ro and Su Mei fell to the ground following the sounds. Little Ru, little Mei. Seeing Su Ro and Su Mei fall onto the ground and started to painfully shriek, Chu Feng did not pay attention to his own injuries as he quickly stood up and ran forward. Little Ru, little Mei. After Chu Feng came near and saw the current Su Ro and Su Mei, his originally tense expression became even more incomparably panicked. Even his nose started to stuff up and his eyes started to flicker with tears, because presently, Su Ro's originally snow-white skin became blue-colored, and on top of her blue-colored skin, a layer of thick frost was condensed. The frost started to spread, and it reached Su Ro's long skirt and froze her entire body. As for Su Mei, extremely great change happened to her as well. Her skin that was as clean as snow already became the color of red flames, and from her body there were even layers of heat emitted. The faces of the two were filled with agony, seeing that the two girls he loved was enduring such torment, yet he himself was useless and powerless. How could Chu Feng's heart not ache? He loudly yelled inside, "Eggy, Eggy, quickly think of a way. How can they be saved? Quickly help me." But compared to Chu Feng's complete panic, Eggy seemed abnormally calm. The calmness was simply not normal, and she urged with a tone of extreme bitterness to Chu Feng, "There are no methods. These two things are too strong, and with your cultivation, you cannot suppress them. They want to take over Su Ro's and Su Mei's physical body, and to borrow their body as a vessel to survive. Chu Feng, quick, run. Right now, their awarenesses are already muddled and very quickly. They will collapse soon. When their physical bodies get thoroughly taken over, they will completely die. At that time, the two things that took over their physical body will certainly kill you." "No, I can't leave. How can I abandon them and not care about them?" However, not only did Chu Feng not escape, he even opened his arms and brought Su Ro and Su Mei from the ground tightly into his embrace. At that instant, bone-piercing chilliness was on one side, and scorching heat was on the other. Neither one of them was good to endure, and either one could harm Chu Feng's body. Yet Chu Feng hugged more and more tightly because his body's pain was far from his heart's pain, as he faced the ones he loved, being taken over bit by bit, yet he was useless by being powerless. Chu Feng. Just at that time, Su Ro actually spoke. Her lips were covered with frost, and as she spoke, she had an extremely vicissitudinous voice, but she still urged Chu Feng as she said, "Quickly run. I can feel that my body is going to be taken over by some terrifying thing. I'm afraid that it will harm you. Chu Feng, I feel very hot, like being burned by flames. A lump of fire entered my dantian, and it's engulfing my body right now. Chu Feng, quickly let me go. Stay farther away from me or else I will injure you." At the same time, Su Mei also made a very feeble voice. "No, I want leave. Even if death comes, we will die together." Chu Feng was very resolute, despite the clothes on his left was being burnt to ashes and his skin was being scalded bit by bit. Despite the chilliness on his right entered his body and even frost condensed in his bones, he hugged the two beauties tighter and tighter without a single trace of regret. "Chu Feng, you bastard. I won't stop you if you want to die, but don't drag me down with you." Eggy started to insanely howl when she saw Chu Feng was determined to die. Chu Feng was in quite a predicament as he heard Eggy's yell. He could not bear leaving Su Ro and Su Mei, but he also didn't want Eggy to be harmed because of his own actions. "Damn it, these two pearls have actually survived. I was truly careless." Suddenly, an aged voice rang out, and when Chu Feng raised his head to look, he couldn't help but rejoice. It was the Azure Dragon founder. The current Azure Dragon founder was standing on an Azure Dragon, while the robe on his body fluttered without wind. After seeing Su Ro and Su Mei's conditions, although he was very shocked, he did not panic too much, and he had many manners of a peak expert. "Chu Feng, move." The Azure Dragon founder loudly yelled. Chu Feng did not dare to be slow as he hurriedly let Su Ro and Su Mei, who was in his embrace, go. Just at that time, with a wave of the Azure Dragon founder's big sleeve. A blue-colored spirit formation was condensed out. With strange and special patterns, it enveloped both Su Ro and Su Mei. Asterisk whoosh 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 asterisk quickly following that. The Azure Dragon founder wrote 2 seal characters in the air continuously. The character seal was condensed and created by symbols, and it stood in the air, as if it had life. Then the Azure Dragon founder pointed at Su Ro and Su Mei and lightly yelled, "Seal." The 2 characters seal landed respectively on Su Ro's and Su Mei's spirit formation. At that instant, Su Ro's and Su Mei's expression had actually seemed less painful, as though the horrifying pearls in their bodies were controlled. Not bad. Chu Feng, your school founder's spirit formation methods are pretty decent. I'm guessing if he was still alive, he would absolutely not be a simple blue cloak world spiritist. He should have infinitely neared the level of a purple cloak world spiritist, Eggy said while giving a rare praise. As for Chu Feng, he was stunned by the Azure Dragon founder's methods, being also a world spiritist. What Chu Feng chose to do when faced with Su Ro's and Su Mei's situation was to die together with them, because other than that, he really did not know what else to do. He was very powerless. But the Azure Dragon founder, who did not even have a physical body right now, the Azure Dragon founder who was only a consciousness, relied on his own world spiritist techniques and temporarily suppressed the 2 pearls in their bodies. It had to be said that this was the huge difference in strength. Fortunately, even though the 2 pearls have not died yet, they aren't as strong as back then. But even so, they are still not something that I can suppress. If I want to control them, I will need to rely on that pearl. As the Azure Dragon founder spoke, he waved his big sleeve again. A gust of wind rose up from Chu Feng's feet and blew him, Su Ro and Su Mei into the air. Then they landed on top of the huge Azure Dragon. Asterisk roar asterisk with the roar of the huge dragon, Chu Feng felt that the scene around him became blurry. But after an instant, he returned to where everyone was resting at. He arrived in front of the crystal coffin that stored the Azure Dragon founder's remains. Asterisk bang asterisk at that instant, the Azure Dragon founder raised his hand and palmed, and he actually shattered the crystal coffin that preserved his own remains. At the same time, the pearl on top of the Azure Dragon founder's remains also gave out extremely dazzling brilliance. Ancestor this is. Seeing that the Azure Dragon founder destroyed his own coffin immediately, Chu Feng's face was filled with doubt. But later on, he finally knew what the Azure Dragon founder wanted to do. After shattering his own crystal coffin with practiced methods, the Azure Dragon founder started to lay a spirit formation. It wasn't a simple spirit formation, but a sealing spirit formation. It was a very high-level sealing formation. So high level that Chu Feng could only tell what type it was, but he could not even touch that sealing formation. Even if he knew the method of laying the formation, it would be impossible for him to actually lay the formation. After laying the sealing formation, the Azure Dragon founder individually put Su Ro and Su Mei on both sides of his remains. After urging the sealing formation, the pearl emitted dazzling brilliance and it materialized. It became a huge crystal casing that shrouded Su Ro, Su Mei, as well as the remains of the Azure Dragon founder, Chu Feng. Although the power of the 2 pearls aren't as strong as before, with the current me, I have no way of completely suppressing them, let alone extracting them from Su Ro's and Su Mei's bodies. Sealing them right now is the only method to save them right now. But with my power, although I can temporarily lock their life force in their bodies, I can only guarantee that they will survive for 2 more years in the sealing formation. That also means that if I open the sealing formation right now, it is very possible that they will immediately die. But if I completely seal this sealing formation, 2 years later they will die as well. Right now, give me a forthright answer. Do you choose to let them die right now or to give them 2 more years? The Azure Dragon founder seriously asked. No, I don't want them to die. Chu Feng was frightened by the words that came from the Azure Dragon founder. I am letting you choose. Right now or 2 years later, quickly speak. If you don't, I will undo the sealing formation right now and destroy them along with the 2 pearls. The Azure Dragon founder's attitude became forceful. No, don't seal them, protect their lives for now. Seeing that, Chu Feng completely panicked and he quickly begged, That's right. Only then did the Azure Dragon founder nod his head in satisfaction. Following that, he opened his arms, then immediately overlaid several thick chains that had surged out from his body. The chains were not normal chains. They were transparent chains condensed by spirit formations. At that instant, with clanking noises, they coiled around the crystal casing. At the end, they twisted around it densely, and almost the entire crystal casing was covered. One could only see Su Ro and Su Mei who were within through the cracks. Seal? Finally, the Azure Dragon founder drew a huge seal character, and it landed on the enormous sealing formation. Finally, it completely locked the sealing formation. At that instant, almost everyone already came over as they nervously looked at everything the Azure Dragon founder was doing, especially Su Hen and Su Long. Their faces were extremely ugly. Although everyone knew something must have happened, no one dared to go up to ask. They only silently watched. Chu Feng, you are still young. Remember, as a man, no matter what event you meet, you must not panic as you face danger. In reality, I wasn't even sure that I could destroy the 2 pearls. So even if you didn't choose to seal, I would have sealed the 2 of them with the 2 pearls. However, the reason why I asked you just now was because I wanted you to have such an experience that you cannot forget. An experience in which you had to choose the life and death of a person close to you so that next time, when you face a situation similar to this, you can be more at ease. The Azure Dragon founder said to Chu Feng. To him, it was as if he was teaching Chu Feng in a classroom. He was not concerned about Su Ro and Su Mei lives. Ancestor, is there any way to save them? But to Chu Feng, the thing he was most concerned about right now was whether he was able to save the sisters Su Ro and Su Mei. It is almost impossible. The pearl will always be sealed in there. But with my ability, I can only guarantee that they will survive for 2 more years as they don't eat nor drink in that state. 2 years later, they will undoubtedly die unless. The Azure Dragon founder hesitated for a bit. Unless what? Chu Feng anxiously asked closely. Unless you can become a Purple Cloak World Spiritists within 2 years, because you can take the 2 pearls out of their bodies at that point, or else they will doubtlessly die. But are you confident that you can become a Purple Cloak World Spiritist within 2 years? To be honest, no matter how much more talent you have, it is almost an impossible thing. The words that the Azure Dragon founder said more or less struck blows at Chu Feng. At that instant, Chu Feng's face was also filled with complications. He no longer spoke because he was indeed not confident that he could become Purple Cloak World Spiritist within 2 years. Chu Feng, don't be discouraged. It is indeed very difficult to become a Purple Cloak World Spiritist within 2 years. But with your talent, there shouldn't be much of a problem. To become a Blue Cloak World Spiritist. Do you still remember the monstrous beast locked in the Asura Ghost Tower in the Spirit Province? Don't forget, it was a Purple Cloak World Spiritist, and it had a request for you. As long as you become a Blue Cloak World Spiritist, perhaps, you would be able to help it get free. At that time, wouldn't it be fine to ask it to save Su Ro and Su Mei? Just at that time, Eggy seriously reminded. That's right, Eggy, you're right. Little Ru and Little Mei can still be saved, as long as I can get the thing that the monstrous beast left behind. Perhaps I can very quickly become a Blue Cloak World Spiritist. At that time, it will work if I save it, then ask it to save Little Ru and Little Mei. After hearing Eggy's reminder, Chu Feng also came to the realization, and his originally face that was like ash instantly surged with a hint of hope. Chu Feng, you wouldn't truly feel you can become a Purple Cloak World Spiritist within 2 years, right? The Azure Dragon founder lightly furrowed his brows when he saw a strand of hope surging within Chu Feng's gaze. Because with his entire life's worth of time, he could not step into the Purple Cloak realm. So, he deeply knew how difficult that realm was. He did not doubt that Chu Feng could become Purple Cloak World Spiritist, or else he wouldn't have entrusted his rescue on Chu Feng. But to do that within 2 years was almost an impossible thing. Ancestor, indeed, I cannot become a Purple Cloak World Spiritist within 2 years of time, but I will do my best to think of other methods to save Su Ro and Su Mei. The two of them are too important to me, and I must save them. So, in the period of time that I am not here, I hope that you can take care of the people close to me. As Chu Feng spoke, he swept his gaze towards the surrounding people. Don't worry. As long as I am here, no one will be able to harm them. Absolutely no problems will happen to the two sisters in these 2 years. However, although I don't know what method you have that can save them, I hope that you can remember before saving them. You must guarantee your own safety first, or else all will be for naught. The Azure Dragon founder advised. Ancestor, don't worry. I have my plans. After that, Chu Feng simply took care of his own injuries, then explained to the crowd what had actually happened. Only then did he say his farewells to everyone, and left the 1,000-bone graveyard. He officially left that place, and stepped onto a road that was filled with unknown dangers, yet was a road that had to be walked on. It was the road towards the Qin province. The continent of the 9 provinces was split into the Azure province, Tang province, Song province, Ming province, Han province, Sui province, Spirit province, Yuan province, and Qin province. The Qin province was rather far from the Azure province. One required to go through the Spirit province, which was in between, in order to reach it. As for why Chu Feng needed to go to the Qin province, it was because the monstrous beast in the Asura ghost tower told Chu Feng that there was a treasure which could polish up spirit power, and that treasure was in the Qin province. Chu Feng's goals of his current journey was very clear: to find that treasure, then to perfect his spirit power so that he could more quickly become a Blue Cloak World Spiritist, then return to the Asura ghost tower, coordinate with the imprisoned monstrous beast, and after saving it, request help from the mysterious and unfathomable monstrous beast so it could save the sisters Su Ro and Su Mei from the hands of the pearls. Although that plan seemed to be very simple, Chu Feng knew that within it there were certainly thousands of difficulties and tens of thousands of risks, because at first, the place that the treasure was hidden in was an unclear place called the 1,000-Monster Mountain. I will leave here soon, and who knows when I will return to this place. As Chu Feng sat on the white-headed eagle, he looked at the familiar land and scenery underneath, as his thoughts were extremely complicated. This time was different from last time, when he went to the Spirit Province. Last time he was only there for the White Cloak World Spiritist qualification exam, but this time he had a heavier mission, and the time he was leaving for was longer as well. Chu Feng, do you want to go to the World Spirit Guild and ask for assistance? Although they don't have any Purple Cloak World Spiritists there, I'm sure they can help a bit. Eggy said, No, I'm not too familiar with the World Spirit Guild, so I'm afraid that greed will rise from their hearts if they see the treasure left behind by the monstrous beast, and that they will take it for themselves. Chu Feng replied, After hearing Chu Feng's words, Eggy felt that it was extremely reasonable as well. After that she giggled and said, It looked like you've matured quite a bit, huh? I have indeed not been mistaken. Boy, you will have quite a future. Eggy was even like a pistachio. She, who knew Chu Feng had heavy worries in his heart, did not stop comforting and amusing Chu Feng on the road. That caused his pressure to be diminished quite a bit, and confidence in which he could save Su Ro and Su Mei also increased quite a bit. Indeed, after Chu Feng hid in the white clouds, huge bangs rang out from the nearby horizon. That sound seemed to be like thunder, but it seemed more like the sounds of 10,000 horses galloping, the sound of them galloping in the air. Heavens, that is. Although Chu Feng was hidden in the white clouds, he was still able to see everything outside. At that instant, he astonishedly discovered that at the end of the horizon, a large group of people and horses appeared. People and horses that walked in the air. The group of people neared 10,000, and on the bodies of every single person, they wore a golden-colored robe. That robe was not armor, but it was more gorgeous than armor and even harder than armor. Underneath the near 10,000 people, every single one was riding an excellent horse. The horses were a lot bigger than normal ones, and they were also abnormally domineering, as if they were the kings within horses, as they had unordinary auras. The most important thing was that the horses could stay in the air with extremely quick speed. However, that wasn't even much. Other than the horses that could walk on air, there was even a huge golden-colored chariot. The thing that pulled the chariot was not a horse. It was a huge beast that could walk on air. And if Chu Feng was not mistaken, it should be a monstrous beast that reached the heaven realm. A heaven realm monstrous beast was tamed by someone and became a slave that pulled a chariot. That caused people to be rather shocked. And when Chu Feng cast his gaze towards the army banner that was fluttering around, he finally knew the origin of the group of people, because on top of the golden-colored army banners that had dragons and phoenixes carved and drawn on them, there were two big words: Jiang Dynasty. Jiang Dynasty. After seeing the words on the army banner, Chu Feng's heart couldn't help but tighten, because it was the first time he saw people from the Jiang Dynasty. The first time he saw the ruler of the continent of the 9 provinces. It had to be said that the army of the Jiang Dynasty, in terms of might, was completely incomparable to any power Chu Feng had ever seen before. Putting aside the powerful strength and excellent quality, people would feel fear purely from the unique atmosphere that they gave off. Chu Feng had heard before that the people from the Jiang Dynasty were not ordinary people. They had special blood, battle power that surpassed others, talent that surpassed others, and they were far superior than normal people in all areas. Even saying that everyone in the Jiang Dynasty was geniuses would be appropriate. That was the main reason why the Jiang Dynasty was able to rule over the continent of the 9 provinces for so many years. Strange. Why have the Jiang Dynasty's army appeared in this place? Did they come to my Azure province for something, or are they just coincidentally passing by? Chu Feng was deeply stunned by the Jiang Dynasty's might. Although he did not feel fear like how normal people did after seeing the Jiang Dynasty's grand army, Chu Feng still had to admit that the Jiang Dynasty was truly not simple. Who cares? After all, you already prepared to leave the Azure province, and your family has been arranged well. Even if the people from the Jiang Dynasty are going to the Azure province, it would be unrelated to you. Eggy said. Chu Feng nodded, but he had a thought in his heart. If the Jiang Dynasty was only passing by, then whatever. But if their target was truly the Azure province, most likely, it would be for the Emperor Tomb. After all, the Qilin Prince's mansion had already discovered the Emperor Tomb. When they discovered that they did not have the ability to open it themselves, for assistance, they would certainly report that news to the Jiang Dynasty. By doing so, even if they could not get the treasures from the Emperor Tomb, at least the Jiang Dynasty would still give them some rewards. But Chu Feng was not too worried, because he who knew how scary the Emperor Tomb deeply understood that even if it was the army of the Jiang Dynasty, they would still be unable to enter deep into the Emperor Tomb. Only if they sent out their peak experts did they have a chance to get some benefits from the Emperor Tomb. So, after the Jiang Dynasty army left, Chu Feng also rushed out of the white clouds and continued towards the Qin province. As for where the Jiang Dynasty army went, as predicted by Chu Feng, they came to the Qilin Prince's mansion. However, the thing that was different from Chu Feng's guess was that this time, the Jiang Dynasty did not come by invitation. Quickly call for the mansion lord. The army of the Jiang Dynasty grandly and mightily descended from the sky. They truly looked just like soldiers and generals from heaven that came down to the mortal world. It caused people to be endlessly afraid, and at that very instant, the overlord of the Azure province, the Qilin Prince's mansion, was already in chaos. The formerly prideful people from the prince's mansion were all terrified to the extreme. My lords, I am Lin Mo Li. I didn't know that you would honor your presences to this mansion, so I didn't come out to greet you. Please forgive my mistakes." Lin Mo Li also panicked. If only one or two people from the Jiang dynasty came, he could still bear with it. But currently, a genuine Jiang dynasty army came to his Qilin prince's mansion. That caused him to not know what to do, and he was extremely terrified. Uncontrollably, he felt uneasiness. And just at this time, from the golden-colored chariot that was pulled by a monstrous beast, a male wearing a golden-colored robe gradually walked out. It was a young man, 2 meters tall, well-built body, golden dragon crown on his head, black hair that draped along his shoulders, and a face as white as snow, yet gave people an abnormally ice-cold feeling. Especially his eyes. They emitted incomparable overbearingness and ferociousness, causing one to not dare to look straight into his eyes. Lord Jiang Han. After seeing that male, Lin Mo Li's face instantly turned deathly white like paper, and there wasn't any trace of the color of blood anymore. Within his eyes, indescribably, fear surged. It could be seen how scared he was towards the young man in front of his eyes, who was even so much younger than him. "My lord, what do you mean, Lin Mo Li was terrified when he was asked by Jiang Han in such a way while he was already originally extremely uneasy. It caused him to be instantly scared, to the point he did not know what to do, nor how to respond. Whoosh *, but before even letting Lin Mo Li finish speaking, Jiang Han suddenly raised his hand, formed an eagle's claw with that hand, an endless suction. Power emitted from his palm. Instantly, it plucked Lin Mo Li from the ground and into his palm. At that very instant, Jiang Han used a single hand to tightly grab onto Lin Mo Li's brain. No matter how the heaven realm Lin Mo Li struggled, he could not escape his palm. At that instant, Jiang Han cast his icy cold gaze towards the people from the Qilin prince's mansion, who knelt on the ground with faces full of fear, and said, "The lord of the Qilin prince's mansion, Lin Mo Li, was assigned to rule over the Azure province by the imperial court. However, when he discovered a mysterious tomb in the Azure province, not only did he not immediately report it to the dynasty, he even privately opened the tomb, planning to keep the dynasty's treasure for himself. This is a crime of death, and he should be beheaded right now. My lord, have mercy. My lord, have mercy." After hearing Jiang Han's words, Lin Mo Li's face turned purple from fear as he started to loudly beg for his life. However, Jiang Han did not even care about him. His palm suddenly grasped, and with a bang, in front of the many people from the Qilin prince's mansion, he crushed the head of Lin Mo Li, the lord of the Qilin prince's mansion, into pieces. "My lord, have mercy. My lord, have mercy." At that instant, everyone from the Qilin prince's mansion on scene started to kowtow for their lives and started to beg for their lives. They were deeply afraid that they would receive the same ending as Lin Mo Li, because in the continent of the 9 provinces, the Jiang dynasty was the only boss, and they were the only laws. No one dared to offend them, because as long as you offended them, there would only be one result: death. Listen up, everyone. From today on, the Azure province will be directly managed by my Jiang dynasty. All of you can still serve my dynasty, but if any of you have any trace of disloyalty in the future, you will end the same as how Lin Mo Li ended today. Jiang Han's voice was like thunder, and his tone was like ice as he loudly said to the crowd, "We are willing to serve the dynasty. We do not dare to have half a bit of selfishness." Seeing that, the Qilin prince's mansion crowd acted as though a heavy burden had been lifted as they kowtowed with faces full of gratitude. After that, the Jiang dynasty's army took over everything in the Qilin prince's mansion. They truly planned to personally manage the Azure province. At that instant, within an extremely luxurious palace in the Qilin prince's mansion, Jiang Han was all ready to go. He seemed to be planning to go somewhere, and behind him, there was an aged old man with white and gray hair. That old man had very strong aura, clearly also a heaven realm expert. But in front of Jiang Han, he seemed abnormally petty as he asked with a very respectful tone, My lord, everything is arranged. Do we go investigate that tomb? No, the tomb is already under our control, so we can go at any time. On the other hand, since I've arrived at the Azure province, right now I must go pay someone a visit. Jiang Han's tone was icy cold, as if there was not a single trace of emotion. Even if it was someone from his own clan, he acted the same. Do you need me to accompany you? The old man seemed to know who Jiang Han was going to look for, so he pettily requested for instructions. No need, I myself am enough. Jiang Han waved his hand, and after that, a wave of wind rose and his body disappeared completely. He did not even leave a single strand of aura, and he was already heading towards where he wanted to go.